And there's Jeff's dogs. One.
Boom! And welcome to the Big Honker podcast, brought to you by Bull and Briar Leather. I'm Jeff Stanfield with the world famous Andy Shaver.
You know, there are days where you have one too many dog, and that dog varies from day to day. One day, it's that little shit that you got running around. Other days, it's the big shit that you got running around.
Actually, those are your mom's dogs.
Well, either way.
But yeah,
either way.
I'm with you on that. Introduce our guest today.
On the line with us today, sorry you had to see a little bit of a father-son spat. You know, these things happen whenever, you start working with family. Mr. Troy Lillie got a brand new show on the Discovery Channel, Lost Monster Files. I watched them. Yes. I've watched, you've got 2 episodes out right now, right? How many did y'all film?
We actually have 6 episodes for a season. So we have another one coming up, what is tomorrow, Wednesday.
Nice. So the first one y'all were in British Columbia?
The very first one that we did was the Chupacabra. We were in North Carolina.
Okay. I might have watched it in reverse. And I watched the British Columbia one, and then I watched the Chupacabra one.
Yeah, the British Columbia one was the second episode. Yes, the Chupacabra one was in North Carolina. It was an interesting feat. And what'd you think? If you saw them both, what were they? What were your opinions? And be real.
Okay, I'm gonna start off by saying I believe that there are things out there. I just don't think that we've I don't think that we've seen anything.
What are you talking about?
Bigfoot, Chupacabra, stuff like that. I am a Bigfoot believer. Jeff is not. Jeff thinks there's too many game cameras out there that by now we would have seen something. Let me, any footage that you get is always crappy.
Okay.
The pictures.
Let me inject this into it.
Okay.
I also believe that there is an unknown factor in a lot of things in life. And an Indian told me one time that they believe that Bigfoot is real, but he does not allow himself to be photographed, videotaped, and he can just disappear, basically. There's a lot of Indian fables out there. Some I believe, some I don't believe, so I don't know. But I've had 2 good friends of mine had encounters with Bigfoot that are guys that aren't bullshitters. Like, I'm a bullshitter, so if I told somebody I saw Bigfoot, I might be just trying to get a reaction out of them. These guys don't do that, and these guys I trust. But I've never seen good footage of a Bigfoot ever in my life, other than the stuff taken in 1966 or 68. So
Patterson, Gilman.
Yes. Yeah. But I would like to be in the Bigfoot guiding business to hunt them, because it's 100% guaranteed. You're not ever going to kill shit, but you're going to get paid every time. So it'd be the perfect place to be hunting. You never have to kill nothing.
I agree. And that makes sense to me. And I'll interject on that a little bit myself. I'm an extreme skeptic. My sister is into cryptozoology and ufology, so she studies that, has most of her life, Brittany. My youngest sister is in the show. That is my youngest biological sister. So for us, we're skeptics. Justin and I are wildlife people. We work with wildlife. We will help people remove things that are, we're not talking like raccoons or possums. I mean, if someone needs help to do that, but we work with crocodiles, and Justin works with bears and felidae, which, big cats. I just think that there's stuff out there that we haven't seen. And so I'm not going to say that something's not there, but you're correct on game cams. One of the things I learned from the First Nations people when we were up in British Columbia was the fact that they believe strongly in their Sasquatch up there. Like, they just believe in it. And all of their property, you're allowed to go onto. There's signs. There's signs they show tracks. They tell you not to, if you're caught messing with them or hurting their domiciles, et cetera, you'll be removed from their property, if not willingly, but forcefully. So there's something to it. But I mean, there's so much land out there that we were flying over when we were coming in, and our bear guards were explaining to us that, and obviously you guys know what bear guards are, but a lot of people don't. When you're filming, there's camera crew and there's staff that's there that's, you know, not as skilled with wildlife, you know, even in some of your most common hunting shows, etc. Your hunter's really good, but if they have a crew, they're critically protected. So we have what's known as bear guards, and these guys actually live way out there in Alaska, and they fly in, and they were great guys. And they were explaining that there's so much land out here that you can't even penetrate with satellite because the density of the forest is so thick. There's something out there. There was something like 6 million acres, and only 13% of it has been mapped by foot. They were explaining, and you can't fly drones in there. It has foot penetration only. So we have no idea, you know, what's lingering, either secret government shit or whatever they could be doing out there, or let alone a Bigfoot or anything like that. So I come at it very skeptical myself. I look for the most realistic stuff first.
I do believe in aliens, though.
Well, me too.
But,
yeah, we'd be ignorant to think that we're the only ones here.
There's way too much evidence now with the top-notch flight, you know, the fighter jets and these little things past them going by. There's no doubt that. So now, I don't think Bigfoot is an alien. I think that if you're smart enough,
he's a remnant. He's a remnant from civilizations past. Well, I think there's too many stories and fables in old civilizations for it not to be real. You know what I mean? I'm not
sure.
saying that they're running around here today, but I think if you rewind the clock 20,000 years, 10,000 years, however far, I think there's too many consistent stories from people that were separated by continents. You know what I mean?
So you don't think there was bullshitters in the caves?
Yeah, but for all of them to have the same story?
Oh, I'm not.
And there's no crossover in the civilizations. You know what I mean? They're not connected.
Right. I mean, well, there's science now between Neanderthal and Homo sapien too. So we just kind of appeared one day. So that's always found that pretty interesting. My personal opinion on Sasquatch or a North American bipedal hominid would be, you know, we did have the Gigantopithecus. Mm-hmm. So that might be something you want to look into. And when our land bridge disappeared, there was a lot of stuff that separated. So it's not to say that something didn't evolve from that over time. It's like people still looking for the thylacine or the Tasmanian tiger, which is a interesting marsupial that may or may not still exist. It's kind of a crypto thing right now because it's supposed to be completely gone, but there's still some areas that we haven't charted yet. I know we think that, but there's some really strange possibilities out there. Again, I'm not saying that I believe in everything that they're saying, and there's a lot of fake stuff out there too, trust me. But when it comes down to it, I think that would be the remnant of what that possibly would be. Like you said, lost civilization.
You've got the Yeti snow monster that's in the Himalayas, the Tibetans. I don't know if that's the people from Tibet. I think they're Tibetans probably.
Yep.
Tibetans.
Yep.
And they've got all kinds of written down history from years and years, and supposedly they've caught one and stuff. That's my other thing. There's too many damn rednecks in the world, and I promise you, if Cletus is out on a dirt road and he sees the damn Bigfoot, he's going to shoot one. I would be scared to.
100%.
I would be scared to death to shoot one, thinking somebody was trying to clown me. I would feel terrible if I shot some. But there's also some video. Ted Wells' video makes my hair stand up. Tim Wells' video makes my hair stand up, and it's the people that have the two people that told me they seen it. I just trust so much that I don't think they would bullshit me, and I just have a hard time. I know they saw something and it wasn't bear because most of them are hunters. They know what a bear looks like, and both of them talk about the horrible smell. Mm-hmm. And I think that there's something there. I just don't know what it is, and there's some Indian spirits that, you know, that I hate to discount anything anymore. And then again, I don't trust the freaking government with anything. So if the government was involved,
what are they not telling us?
Yeah. Who trusts nobody trusts the government anymore. Nobody.
That would be a reason I wouldn't want to shoot one either. And I'll tell you why. If you were to kill first of all, I've spent a lot of time with a lot of extremely large predators in my life, and just being in their presence sometimes. I mean, when a lot of people haven't experienced this, but when you're in the water with a huge crocodile and it's just completely looking at you, and you're kind of at its mercy. I mean, they're very, very intelligent. People don't realize how smart crocodiles are. About 17 to 20 times smarter than a dog. So you need to think about that. And I'll say that again, 17 to 20 times smarter than a dog with no brain fat. When you're around an animal like that, they emit like an energy or a presence to themselves that you begin to understand how minuscule you can really be. That's number one. So for me to kill something like that, that's been that evasive and stuff, I would feel like I was killing something supernatural, and I shouldn't be doing it, for one. And number two, if you did, going back to your twist back to where you're talking about the government, if you come up with something like that, I think they just kill you. I think if they don't want that out right now, I think they would just kill you.
Yeah, they did that to a president or two. So yeah, I agree with you 100% on that.
I think like we don't need this out.
Yeah.
Kill him.
Right.
Could you imagine being the guy that shoots Bigfoot in the woods? How scared to death you would feel that one of them other little bastards is going to come up and rape you or shoot you or kill you, because you know they ain't just one. There's one. There's more than one. That would be the most terrifying walk back to your truck.
Oh, 100%.
Another thing that's interesting, if you research a lot of the stories, and like I said, I'm intrigued, and the reason I look into a lot of weird things is because the world sucks, as we all know it, and with all the bullshit that's in it today, everybody wants a little fantasy and they want to get away. That's why I think movies like Star Wars and Predator and some of the really cool things that are out there, people want to just escape a little bit from this reality of bullshit and the day-to-day crap that you see. But another reason I look into that stuff is I think that it's interesting because you don't want to ever just, like you said, you don't want to, just disqualify anybody's meanings, but there's a lot to it out there. And I think that I don't want to say that there's nothing there. I'm not going to be one of those people that say, oh, there's absolutely nothing. I just don't know, but I really want to see it. It's kind of like when you're kayaking and what's around the bend. Well, we'll just go a little further and see if there's something cool. It's that exploration.
Yeah.
That's what makes it fun.
Okay. You don't have to reveal any secret, but in the episode that you're in British Columbia, you guys are basically camping out in ghillie suits, and then something gets thrown.
It's that we think, or a tree fell.
Or a tree fell. Either way.
Yeah, which could have been anything.
Either way, if I'm on a Bigfoot hunt and it's pitch black dark and I'm having to use night vision for the cameras, if a tree does fall, I'm shitting my pants right there.
It was intense. And Justin, like I said, Justin and I have been working around a lot of big animals, and we get it. It just happened so abruptly. It could have been a coincidence. It could have been anything. I mean, like, I would like to tell you that I know exactly what it was, but I really don't. I don't know exactly what it was. And I think what it comes down to is, truth be told, is it hit really loud, and it was right by Justin. Previously there was had some snowfall and everything was still wet. So, I try to be logical. Like, it's way down, it's watery, every now and then shit just falls in the woods. There's been times we've been out talking and watch a whole tree just fall over me. We know that's going to happen. But we were in ghillie suits because at that time, I'm not sure how explanatory it was in that show, but we were tracking a bear up that hill, and we wanted to see what it was. Was it a young grizzly? Was it one of the, the big silverback grizzlies? There's silverback grizzlies that live all through those ridge lines and stuff. And they never come down. They're not like, they don't come down. They live really, really high up. And so when we're seeing them, we got to go high. So we weren't sure what it was. So yes, we were camping out. Most of our cameras were set up and our crew had left, and we were just kind of chilling out there. And for a long time, guys, I mean, I want you to understand that there's a lot of filming that goes into that. So we were probably laying out there 5 hours before that happened. So, but it was interesting. It was interesting.
Even if it's a fucking silver grizzly, I mean,
would suck.
That's not any better. Yeah. I don't know what I'd rather take on in the pitch black dark, a Bigfoot or a grizzly bear.
Oh, I'm definitely going with a Bigfoot.
Me too.
I mean, you maybe got a chance.
Maybe bargain with it, throw it a packet of peanuts.
Because that's what I was going to say. They've never hurt anybody.
Yeah.
If you read a lot of reports, very rarely do you see, Sasquatch rips someone's head off or punches their face into next Wednesday. They just kind of like try to get away from you, like most primates do in the wild.
The only story...
If they were... Go ahead.
There was a guy in Denver that said he got raped by one, but I've never ever which was a complete bullshit story, but he just had a bad night. But I've never heard of anybody ever being abducted or touched by a Bigfoot.
Right.
Mm-mm. I mean, there's stories about, they take children. I've heard that. Or they take women, and I mean, I guess, but that just seems a lot. That just seems kind of, what's the word? To try to get publicity. I think people do that to try to get recognized because it's a big thing. I mean, it's a big thing.
You're safer with a Bigfoot than you are at a P. Diddy party. So there you go.
1,000%. You're safer with a Bigfoot than a grizzly bear party.
Yes, right.
Let me tell you.
So yeah, I don't know, but I do believe that there is, and like you said, just there's been times when we went to Seattle a couple years ago, and like when we were flying in, like it's just open, it's just vast canopy and everything. It's like there's no way that we have explored every square inch of what's underneath us.
Or the caves or any of that.
Yeah, you don't even figure in the caves. You're just talking about the canopy. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean, and I think there's a lot to it, and that's what he said. You can't get satellite through there. And here's another thing, guys, a lot of people don't know. Yes, we're using the heat sensing cameras and all kinds of really crazy gear that we're given to use. And I think that out of our range, I mean, I can't just go buy a $20,000 camera to use in the woods. Most people can't. I mean, you're going to wipe all your money. You better hope you find something, or you just gave 20 grand away, right, to a company. So they supply stuff, but you know, if you are filming a polar bear, you don't see them. You can't see them even with those cameras. The only way they're seen is if they're facing you and their mouth and around their eye sockets. But they're so dense and their hair is so thick and the cold is, you can't see them. You can't see them with those cameras.
Right.
So that's, people got to take into consideration. That's a form of cloaking in a way. So
yeah, we talked to it.
There could be some truth to that too.
We talked to a guy before. Was he polar bear hunting? Is that what he was doing?
Which one?
And he said the only way that you could see a polar bear is if it was coming to you. You see the nose and two eyes. You see three little dots, and they kind of grow as they're coming up to you. Yep. Like otherwise, they're virtually invisible.
You're the bait.
Exactly.
You're the bait on a polar whenever you're in polar bear territory.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. So they could have that. There could be something with that type of. Their coats could be geared the same way, especially if you're talking something that lives in those types of heights and summits for the cold. Imagine that as a mammal. And we don't even know if they're ectothermic, like sloths or reptiles. We don't know anything about that. So to me, it was just the fun of really wanting to see a bear. And I just think that there's just, you know, I'm going to look into stuff. But again, we're skeptics. I agree with you. And I spend a lot of time with a lot of animals and I understand their behavior. And so does Justin. I think we're trying to apply that to what people are saying they see. And a lot of it's bear activity. I got to be honest with you.
Well,
some of it I can't explain.
And I think it's good that you guys are skeptics because there's a lot of people that really, if you want to see a Bigfoot, you can chalk it up to being a Bigfoot. You know what I mean? Some strange print or
100%.
Some strange smell. Like, oh, that's got to be a Bigfoot. So I think people that they want to see a Bigfoot so bad that any evidence that they do find supports their belief of there being a Bigfoot. So you guys coming at it from like a skeptic standpoint is important.
Correct. And I know a lot of times, you know, and I'm sure there's going to be viewers that are going to see this. A lot of times it doesn't look like that. The way they edit us or put us together is that we don't. But that's not necessarily true. Justin and I are skeptics. I'm not telling anybody out there that I don't think anything exists. I'm not going to say that. I don't know. That's an ignorant thing for me to say. I don't know, but I have to isolate everything first. And with the experience we have with animals, and there's a lot of these armchair commandos that are typing things that are absolutely ridiculous because of how I look. Look, just because I'm not wearing like, you know, duck head gear and camo gear and all this kind of stuff doesn't mean we don't understand the woods. Right now, where I'm sitting right now, I have crocodiles on the other side of this wall outside, big ones, right? I have cassowaries. I have kangaroos. I have capybara. Justin has the monkeys, the bears. I mean, we're used to big animals and understanding behavior. So once you learn about what they do and you spend enough time in the wild, you're like, listen, bears do that. Bears fucking get to rock in these trees sometimes and they fall over. Or they don't understand the way friction works, right? So if you're hitting the tree, the top wiggles. So they think if a tree falls off on the top, oh, that was a Sasquatch. Mm-hmm. Definitely. See how it fell over at the top? Right. Well, no, it's because the bear was pushing on the middle of it and the top of that tree was flimsy and it fell over. So yeah, it looks like that. So here's the bear track, or look, there's some bear scat next to it. We clearly know what this is. But in your mind, like you said, everybody can sip that Kool-Aid and then they're all drinking the Kool-Aid. But even as a believer, I think they need to be more open and closed-minded at the same time and understand the whole surroundings before saying exactly what it is. When there's 1,000 culprits.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It could be, you know, you got to figure out how many animals are in the woods that you could have come across and just start eliminating from that. Like it's an obscene number.
Correct. Now we interviewed the gentleman, and I go a little deeper with him, where he had in the Abominable Snowman episode in British Columbia, he said he had been fishing that night. He had told us a long story, and we went back and forth with him, and he really didn't falter from what he was talking about. And I asked him point blank, "Would you want to see it again?" He said, "No, I wouldn't want to see it again." And he said, because it changed my whole perception of reality and what you grew up believing. He goes, "I don't even like walking in the woods in the dark anymore. It scared the shit out of me. I don't want to see it again. I don't care. I wish I never did."
Yeah.
So he's like, I'll tell you about it. And what he explained was very interesting, down to the knees. I mean, I don't know if they got into it, but he talked about the knees being above his shoulder. It was hunched down, sitting on the ground. He didn't hear it moving. That's very common in a lot of those things. However, I'm not going to discredit what he did or didn't see. However, people get online. They find something that's similar to their thing. They get on these forums and they start, that's it. Yep, that's it. And it's almost like they start reprogramming their brain so what they're reading becomes their own reality. Mm-hmm. So I've never trusted group. If I don't see it myself, then I'm just gonna keep looking.
Yeah.
That's how I'm thinking.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
It kind of, his interview was pretty short. It didn't really get into, like you said, if you
too bad.
If you talk to him in depth, you know what I mean? Like maybe
he was scared. You could see it in his face. Like it didn't look like he saw something. He might've been scared. And sometimes our vision gets different when we're in fear. When people get robbed, they can't even explain who did it, and they don't even remember where they were standing. So when you get scared, your adrenaline kicks in, and that could be misperceiving, and then your brain puts together what you think you saw and places it to you, and then you spit it out.
Yeah,
there's science behind that. We're not as dumb as we look.
I've always said, like, eyewitness testimony should not be admissible in court because shit hits the fan, and like you can't even remember if it's a red car or a blue car. Or what happened. So that adrenaline gets to such a state and you don't even know what you're looking at that point. And everything happens so fast. You're just kind of replaying it and you're putting pieces together that might not have actually been what happened.
Talk to anybody that's been attacked by a bear.
Right.
I mean, it could go on for 5 minutes while they're getting chewed on, but it happens so fast to them. They don't remember. All they remember is seeing an animal charge them. And next thing you know, they're in mid shock and their body's ripped up if they survive. Mm-hmm. So, just seeing something like that's going to overwhelm me. I mean, I don't know about you, but if I walked up to an 8 or 11 foot bipedal hominid in the that could just pull, if you get around an orangutan or a full size gorilla, it's intimidating.
Oh, a gorilla would scare the hell out of me.
In the wild?
Oh, yeah, a gorilla. When you see those people jacking with them at the freaking zoo, what do those things weigh? 500-600 pounds?
Yep, they can get up to they can get pretty big.
Solid freaking muscle. 600 pounds of solid muscle, quick, strong. Oh, that would be terrible.
And what's interesting about them is gorillas. Here's a thing to think about. Gorillas are generally really gentle, and for years they wouldn't touch them. And over time in the zoos, they wouldn't touch them. They became depressed and they would die, and they were just messed up. And all they needed to be was touched because they live in troops. Primates they troop up there. But if gorillas acted like chimpanzees, it would be almost impossible to try to work with one of those things.
Well,
I mean, chimps are insane, man.
What?
Like that's
the chimp empire.
A whole different ball game.
Did you watch that series, The Chimpanzee Empire or Chimp Empire, that was on Netflix or something?
Yeah, I watched one called The Rise of the Warrior Ape. Whew, it was insane.
What's that one?
Yeah, let's see if I can.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, The Empire of Chimps. Isn't that the one where they followed them for 20 years?
No, they follow them for a couple of years, and what happens is they've got this.
Oh no, I haven't seen that
and
one.
They just show that those little monkeys, they kill them and just break their legs, eat them, and just break their legs off. And I mean, and then they have different tribes and they fight each other. They're freaking. It's bad.
Have you seen the hairless chimp? That they've got it in captivity.
You guys you need to watch it. It's called Rise of the Warrior Ape. It took them 23 years to film this documentary. Rise of the Warrior Ape.
Okay, I'll check that out.
That one you want to watch. That's insane. Now, I'm sorry. What was that? What was that question? I want to make sure I was right on that before I said it on your show. But yes, it's Rise of the Warrior Ape. 23 years of filming.
There's they've got a hairless chimp in captivity somewhere. It is frightening to see this thing because,
I've seen it.
When chimps have hair, you don't realize how muscle bound these little bastards
them suckers are ripped,
or how scary they are. But this one that's hairless, like you see every single muscle fiber and just how big his shoulders are and his forearms and how just gnarly his teeth are. Like they are frightening creatures.
Yeah. So imagine if that thing living somewhere in the wild in North America and someone sees it down by a riverbed, what kind of shit that's going to start.
Yeah.
And again, it's just a chimpanzee.
Right. Have you seen the video? Guy goes, there's an orangutan and the guy gets too close to the cage and he grabs the guy. And then so he yanks him right to the cage. And then you think, okay, if I can just break his grip with his hands, I can get away. No, that little bastard has two other hands that he uses for feet. And he reaches a foot through there and basically grabs his leg. Like there's no getting away from him.
and they're taking their grip off for a standard human is going to be almost impossible. 100%.
Yeah.
Because their strength is unbelievable, especially an orangutan. Like that's an animal that can just take your arms just while you're sitting there, just pull you apart like that without even trying. That's amazing to me. Yet they're gentle.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Gigantopithecus, if you look at the rendition of what their skeletal remains, they look like a gigantic orangutan that stands 9 feet tall, 9 feet tall. That's just fucked, dude. I'm sorry. That wouldn't be something you want to fucking deal with in the woods. I'm sorry.
No. What's the joke? When are you done with a bear? Whenever the bear's done with you.
Yeah.
100%. And think about most of people's lives, dude. They get up in the morning, do their bathroom shit, go into the kitchen, eat, go to Publix, and come home. Nobody spends time out in that wilderness, man, like that, or working with these animals. I can't tell you. It's 2024. I have large presentations that I do with wildlife to people and all over the place. And the stuff that comes out of their mouth still to this day blows me away. Like how did you survive and you have children? You know? It's like they get these city areas and they've totally lost the connection with what the world is. They live in like these concrete bubbles, and it's like, and I use concrete bubbles because it's like a bunch of squares you live in, and everything's convenient.
Right.
So you become lazy, and then you believe everything you're told. I think you lose the will to wonder or to explore. That's sad, man.
Well, and I think you also lose the sight of how small you actually are in the grand scheme of things.
Yes.
Like if you've never taken a hike and heard something that you couldn't identify and had that rush of adrenaline, you don't know if that's a Bigfoot or if that's just a deer walking in the woods. But it's the same. Yep. It's the same response of what the fuck is that and how am I going to protect my family? You don't realize how small you are.
100%. I agree with that. 100%. In any situation, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Especially when you're in the wilderness.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. British Columbia. That land isn't, if you've never been there, first of all, it was interesting because I want to say that where we stayed was in Hope, and that's where they filmed the first Rambo movie.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So the Rambo movie ever filmed was all there. We stayed in the hotel he stayed in. And while we were off and we weren't working, we were looking at the town. So it's pretty interesting to see everything there. There's like Bigfoot statues all over, and then there's Rambo statues all over. Right. So it was like a really interesting thing, but the population is like 1,000 people. Right. And it's 4 hours to get there from the airport. So you got to drive 4 hours, God knows how long, to this town. So God knows what's out there, man. I mean, it's just huge. The wildlife is bigger. It's more abundant. It's crazy. I mean, the United States, there's certain areas left that we have, but people have just overpopulated and done things to ruin most of our wilderness and stuff that we really lost touch with it, I think.
Yeah.
There's great states like where you're from, Texas, I believe. That's one of the last. There's a lot of plains out. That's a big state, and there's a lot of open land. But man, if they were to overdevelop all that, I think it would ruin it too.
Yeah,
Texas is pretty cool, actually.
It is. You can have you got everything here. You know, you got mountains, you got the coastline, you've got the plains, like you said. You got heavy woods in the east. Texas, I mean, it could alligators. I mean, you got everything. It could be 4 states, and like you could drive across Texas and go across 4 different climates.
It's amazing. Yeah.
From top to bottom.
And so I'm glad it's still there, because once it's overpopulated, it'll be really. And what I'm not a believer in overpopulated, like when they're trying to tell you the world is overpopulated. If you do the numbers, that's highly, highly, highly wrong. Right. I think they said everybody all 7 billion people in the world, everybody that's in the world could stand in the state of Texas with 6 to 8 feet perimeter around.
You can put everybody in the world that's ever been on Earth in the Grand Canyon. From the day of Adam and Eve till today, everybody ever born you could stick in the Grand Canyon and they'd still have room to add more.
Right.
I mean, we're not
so this whole, they scare you with all that shit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the state that you're in, you got the Everglades, and you know the good thing about that is, I mean, nobody's ever going to be able to populate in there, right? Just because it's all swamp.
You would like to hope not, but thanks to the Army Corps of Engineers, did a wonderful job of screwing that all up in the early days of Florida. I mean, the way they the narrative, the way the water goes, and putting this dam in here and building up mud here and putting homes here. I mean, they damaged a lot of it.
Really?
I think that they realize that now, so they stopped a lot of the building and stuff that was going through there, because you're ruining the water flow from the top of the United States down into the glades, which goes into the ocean. It's sick. It's terrible what they've done. Yeah. It's overbuilt. I was born in South Florida. And my cousin, you guys know my cousin Nathan. He was raised down there in Miami area. You don't even want to go there now, man. You can't even breathe. There's no room. You can't. I don't understand how people are happy like that. You can't even see it. It's just terrible. It's just cars and junk and spaghetti bowl. It's just trash.
Miami.
Terrible.
We went to Miami. We weren't supposed to go to Miami. We got our flight. We were coming back from St. Lucia, me and my wife, and we missed our connecting flight. They kept us. It was during COVID, so like all the airlines were fucked up and backlogged and everything. So we ended up staying in Miami for a day. That is a wild place. I didn't know what I was seeing.
Yeah,
I mean,
there's a lot to it, man, and it's just tough. It's a melting pot of different people. You've got tourists there, you got transients there, you've got different cultures all in one spot, and people not being able to understand the next person. The violent drivers. I mean, people just. I mean, it's out of control anymore. To me, in my opinion, some people might really love it. You know, if you really like to do cocaine and drink and hang out on the big boats, I mean, Miami's for you. I mean, I'm not going to tell you not to do that if that's what you want to do, but that's about what it is. So if you're a millionaire doing coke off whores on a boat, that's cool.
Miami's the spot to be.
But I have no reason to be there, man.
I
have no reason to be there unless we're out on the water.
Yeah.
Out on the Keys, I love it. I love that now. That's beautiful.
I think a lot of what you said a minute ago is we're not overpopulating the earth. What we're doing is we're conglomerating everybody into certain areas. Because
100%.
Metropolitan areas, and it's funny when you get outside of the metropolitan area, most everybody's pretty like-minded. I don't care if you're in the north, the west, the south, or the east. Country people are country people everywhere. And I was in Northern California last year in Bigfoot area up there, and by God, I seen more rednecks there than I've ever seen in Texas.
And when we did when we're going to be up at the, there's going to be an episode coming out where we're up in Arkansas. That's going to be a good episode. But when I was in Arkansas, I really liked it there. I thought that was really cool. If y'all ever been there, it's really awesome, especially up in the mountains areas. It's like, I mean, just amazing, man. The wildlife, the scenery, the way people are.
We're in Arkansas.
I'm from Tampa, Florida now, man. It's terrible. Man, I can't really give you that.
Okay. I just was curious.
I want to tell you, but it was up. It was in the northern part. It was up higher. All right, so we're further away from the southern part of Arkansas. But it was. I mean, I would love to tell you if the episode came out, I would talk to you about it. But it was really cool. And once you get to see what we got to do there, that was probably one of the most fun times we've had. Honest to God, the stories people were telling us and what we were coming up with, you guys are you'll get a kick out of it. Wait do you see?
I'm trying to think of what mythical creatures running around Arkansas.
Bigfoot. When I was a kid, like.
Well, we definitely weren't looking for Bigfoot. I can tell you that much.
When I was a kid, I'm going to say 8. So 1976, 77, my grandparents retired from Kansas City and they moved to Bella Vista, Arkansas, up in the mountains. Beautiful place up there. But it was when the Bigfoot fascination was going and supposedly up in there. And I can still remember to a day scared to death because we had a window open that Bigfoot was going to come in and take me in the middle of the night.
Right.
I was scared to death. I mean, I couldn't sleep all night. I hear noise and shit. I kept waiting for somebody, Harry and the Hendersons, to come through the window and grab me up.
That movie was cool. That kind of took a burden off of Bigfoot a little bit and kind of made him a little bit better as
humanized
far as
him.
Yeah.
When I was in Northern California last February, I couldn't believe the Bigfoot stores and stuff.
Yeah,
they were everywhere. And and I'm not making fun of people, but I am making fun of people. There's a lower IQ level in some of those places. That's the nicest way I could say that. Is there really is a lot of inbreeding and stuff around some of those folks.
Boy, you're just really pissing off people in Northern California, Jeff.
No, I didn't say all of them. I'm saying the people that listen to this program that go to Northern California says Jeff's exactly right. I'm telling you right now, there's some. You just have to. You need to. I'm a people person. I love to talk to people, and I love to visit with people. And if someone's really weird, I really love to talk to them. And there was a lot of people to talk to at that place.
Yeah.
You know, you find a lot of truth. I can tell you this: when we were up in British Columbia, Justin and I went out, and we were talking to some of the local transients, the bums, drunks, whatever. You know, if you listen to some of their stories, they don't know who you are. They just think you're a person trying to talk with them, so they'll just tell you shit, right? You got a camera crew with you and you're talking, everybody's got a story, you know, they saw this and, you know, my dad caught a Bigfoot and brought him back on the jet ski, blah, 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 whatever. But there was a guy that we had spoke to, you could tell he was, you know, he was a little drinking that day, but he was still coherent enough. He was drunk, but he was, you know, he's a functioning drunk. So he was telling his story and he said he was a logger up in the mountains. He's like, yeah, I was logging up there in the mountains. There was something up there. I never saw it, but it screamed at us. Screamed at us so loud it made my heart want to stop. And we just left it. Everybody left. He said, and we couldn't go back. And then all of our shit was destroyed and our tractors were pushed over and shit like that. And I go, so what'd you see? He said, we never saw anything. It just screamed like so loud. It like shook our bodies and we just got scared. Like he believes that. Yeah. Like he believes it, but he never said he saw anything. What? And I was like, man, I wonder what the hell did that.
We got a friend.
I'm like, were they pranking these guys or what?
We've got a guy we've got 3 friends of ours, me and Andy both know, that had a situation like that on a varmint hunt one night. Mm-hmm. They don't know what it was, but it wasn't nothing like they've ever had encountered noise and was knocking on trees and all kinds of shit. They don't know what it was.
He said it wasn't knocking on trees. Like it was slamming something into a tree so loud that like you could feel it every time it would hit that tree. And he talked to a Bigfoot guy, and that was a Bigfoot behavior. But 3 guys were all on a varmint hunt and can attest to the same thing. And like,
so I mean, yeah, like I said, we don't know. There's 2 sides to it. There could have been somebody like us up there fucking around with their friends, and taking those really heavy.
No, this ain't that kind of, this place is not going to have nobody else in there.
It's remote.
It's very remote. And this is Texas. There's not campers and granola.
So there you go. Then we don't know.
Granola crunchers and shit. Just people be out fucking walking around. That shit ain't happening out here.
Granola.
This is a private ranch that there's nobody would be in there. I mean, that's what.
Yeah, so that you never know. That's what I'm saying. I couldn't sit here. That's why I would tell people. I would agree with you. You can't say that there's nothing there. And look, I work in paranormal. That's one of the main things we work in. If you can find the most heinous things that have happened, the most horrible things that have happened, I try to do things on the spirit side of things that people don't want to touch on. And you can cut this out of the show later. But one time I presented to a network. I said I want to do some ghost hunting, but I want to do it in an abortion clinic.
Oh wow!
Right?
Ooh, that's
you could have heard one. Could have heard a pin drop in that room, dude. Right? Like, oh, well, we can't carry that stuff. That's too. We can't do that. I said, well, you'll go to a murder scene where 10 kids were raped and brutally killed, and you want to go in there, but you won't go to an abortion clinic to see if there's any kind of negative energy or what this particular thing's going on. And I'm like I said, I'm an American. Anybody do whatever their choice is their choice. So I'm like, I want to advocate this. I want to sit in an abortion clinic one night with EMFs and really try to see if we can find something. And they were like, bro, there's no way we can do that.
Right.
So, some things are off limits. Like, that's too close to bothering me.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that the thing with entertainment?
You got to walk that line.
Thing with really trying?
Yeah. You got to walk that. You got to invoke a response one way or the other.
Right. And nobody wants to touch anything like that, but we'll go to all these other places. But why wouldn't we go there? I mean, there's a lot of loss of life, right?
100%.
No matter what your side of the stance is, there's a lot of loss of life. So would there be lingering spirits? Would they be angry? Would it be other spirits there to make you go? I mean, there could be anything. I mean, depending on what you believe in. Mm-hmm. But doing paranormal, there's some things that I have seen that I can never explain. That you just know that you're just okay. We're going to leave this as we don't know, and we're going to move past it because there's just things that happen that you just can't. You explain.
You ever been scared?
So, go ahead.
You ever been scared?
Of course. I mean, once you open yourself up a lot, so Brittany and I will do a lot of paranormal work. So once you open yourself up a lot and you get something that's intimidating, you can, because something will happen and you're like, I can't explain that. And it's like, that's out of my control. When you feel like you're out of control of your environment or what you're doing, it can be fearful because now you don't have control anymore. You're on their turf or their ride,
Yeah.
That abortion clinic deal's really, I've never
thought about
I
doing
would love
EMF reading there.
I don't like shows like that because that shit scares the shit out of me. I'm a big pussy. I don't like, and I don't watch movies like The Conjuring and shit. Like, hell no, I'm out on that shit. I don't like gory movies either, but I can see some psycho wearing a fucking mask going around stabbing people at Crystal Beach or whatever it is. But stuff I can't see or know in the spirit stuff, nope, I'm out on that stuff. I don't even like to watch it on TV. Makes my hair stand up. I got mad watching Blair Witch Project and didn't understand. At first, I thought it was a real deal, and I thought, why the fuck don't they send the Navy SEALs in and try to help these fucking people or something and stuff? And then I found out. But I don't like that kind of shit. So you're one of the bravest people I know because I couldn't do that.
Well, I don't know about brave, maybe stupid, but I think that I've been doing it a long time, and it's something I really it's it's an interesting art, like to be able to learn. A lot of these guys use a lot of equipment. I try not to use equipment because you can use your own. You can get in and use your own brain. And we have to understand that each of us are different. We're a vessel, and we have a spirit in us. No matter what people want to say, it doesn't just turn off and we're just dead somewhere. There's a lot of people with different faiths and walks of religion, and that's great. But at the end of the day, we still have to go somewhere. No matter what someone's theory of what it is, where we're going, or how we're doing, or how we're getting there. You know, there's a lot of misrepresentation amongst religion and spirituality all the way across the board. So like if you do paranormal work, you got the Christians after you. That's wrong. You're just propagating Satan's work and all that kind of stuff. It has nothing to do with that. Nothing to do with any type of deities or any of that. It just has to do with trying to understand your next journey on what's going to be. You know, I heard this one theory this man was explaining to me in one of the investigations, that when you die, you see these lights. Right. And you kind of like go to it and you blow out into this big bright room. And there's people around and you're just like, whoa. And he was like, you're just being born into another thing, because when you're born, you see the same thing.
Right. Yeah.
Right. You just come right out into this bright lights. You're pulling air into your body. Everything's happening to you. You're overwhelmed, you know, and there's so many theories to it, man. Like you can just sit and listen to some of these things that people say and what they've been through, and see some of the stuff that they actually have evidence of or recording. I've seen some recordings on like Wise cameras and stuff, and that I can't explain. I mean, you can't. And you try to figure out how they did it to be fake. And you know, we have a gentleman that I'll be sending stuff to, Charlie, in our show. He's really good with that. You know, he does cybersecurity. He can pull apart pictures and photos and videos and show you even if they've overlaid sound. And he's like, this coding here. So I'm going to give everything to him. But some of the stuff without that, you really couldn't see it. And some of these people are authentic. I think they bring it on themselves. I think we close a lot of it out. I think we're so brought up to believe in such a certain thing as a young person that we're so closed-minded to everything but what we should be open to, and that we forget everything. We don't want to see anything that we don't believe is real, because we see the world as we're brought up, but not as it is.
Right.
You know, I really believe that.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question, probably a dumb one. Have you ever been at a paranormal site where you could actually had a spirit that would come and go back and forth, communicate with you more than just more than a second?
Yes, all the time. I know people are gonna be like, he's crazy. They can say what they want. To me, it's exercising your mind, and once you get your mind open enough to see it and not be scared of it, a lot of times it's just something's trying to communicate with you, because I think they're just as scared. But we can also get on the topic of time bending. Here's one thing I don't believe in. I don't believe when you see a ghost that he's wearing a top hat or carrying a cane or looks like a Civil War guy. You don't take your clothes with you in any supernatural room you go in. When you leave your body, you leave it all. Everything stays, man. Okay. Right? So time bending is an interesting theory. It's where and Einstein spoke about it, where time can cross over paths, kind of like this sometimes. So there's actual literature of where people are seeing someone else in their home that doesn't look like them, wearing an odd hat, like say like a baseball hat, or wearing their underclothes around the house, which in those days were like a shirt and a pair of pants underneath their normal pants. So they're just as scared, right? They think it's a ghost or a weird thing that's not supposed to be there. And then you have people that say, oh, I see this couple in my kitchen all the time from the Civil War era. But you're in a house that predates the Civil War, right? So somehow our time crosses over. Time bending is an interesting theory. Brittany has it really worked out well. She did it with Jack Osborne. In his Night of Terror, she brought it in and explained how it all worked, and I think that's something to look into. I think that sometimes we're not seeing ghosts. We're actually just seeing a crossover,
another timeline somewhere.
So I have a really good tattoo artist. He's a good friend of mine. His name is Tom, and he was telling me why he was tattooing me. Tom, he said, "I'd ever tell you the story I have about a ghost, or maybe it wasn't. Now that we talked." He's like, this man kept watching me all the time when I was a kid. Now, the house he grew up in, his family was born, and they were all there the whole time. He said and if he watches this, and if some of it wrong, I apologize, Tom, but he said that he would look out the window sometimes. He would like peek at him, or he would be in the house and he would look at him and stuff, and he never knew who it was. And in their old photo albums one time, they were going through the photo albums, and he said, "Mom, that's the man I see." And she said, "That was my dad. He died like 6 years before you were born," or something along that line. He died before he was born, so he never got to see him. Right? So she's like, "But that's who I've been seeing." So he was seeing him in that house, but maybe he wasn't seeing a ghost. Maybe his grandfather was seeing them, and he was like, "What is this too?" And he saw him, and that's what was going on. He kept trying to look at it, but he was open to it so they could see each other. I really think it has something to do with being open,
Right.
and allowing your brain to believe it. Right.
That's an interesting. I've never heard the different timeline theory. That's an interesting way to look at it.
We haven't.
It is. I mean, they're all theory.
100%.
They're all theory, but
We have a neighbor a couple of miles south of us that had his ring doorbell camera picture showed an image. It looked like of a guy in a World War II outfit, and supposedly it looks like a kid that grew up in them parts over there. But I don't know how.
Again, that may be a very big possibility because digital photography picks up things that the human eye doesn't see. I mean, now we're getting into 8, 10, 20K.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you're picking up what your brain can't even perceive, what your eyeballs are seeing. Our technology is advancing to that. And maybe we're just seeing into the future or into the past, excuse me. And maybe certain things are seeing that, or we're just an energy level. Sometimes where it crosses, the world just crosses.
See, ghosts don't scare me though, because we've got.
I don't think they should.
They don't. We've had encounters here at the lodge. I say my dad's here all the time. We'll hear a noise in the pantry and stuff will just fall over and things. And then
he's fucking with you.
That's
what the pantry was his.
That's his favorite
domain.
place. So
it's where the snacks are.
It's where the snacks were. So he was in there a lot, and
that's his way of letting you know he's there. You see what I mean?
And,
it's a form of communication that our mortal minds can't handle.
Yeah,
but we can handle movement in the pantry.
Right.
I just wanted to say
that doesn't bother me, but I've seen videos of a Dollar General in Haskell, Texas, on their cameras, and all of a sudden stuff falls off, and you see kind of a shadow go through. And I've seen different police officers have showed me these videos. There's no answer to that.
Yeah,
there's no answer to that.
No, there isn't. There's theories that when you're in the supernatural and you're trying to communicate with people and you're trying to get across that you're learning things, and you're using what you can do in different ways. I mean, you talk about people who like to use telekinesis, or people who like to move objects with their energy, which I've seen people do that from Asia. I mean, they really can master that type of where they can manipulate energy. Like that's not a real thing. So we're so small-minded still. I still think we're so primitive, even though we have all this great technology that's already probably 100 years old, if you think about what the government has. But we just don't have, look into things like Dyson dye, which they call the spirit goggles, where they invented that dye that takes all white light out. So you can wear them and all white light is gone. So you can start to see things and see the human aura, etc. Like that's a real thing too.
I have not seen that.
So yeah, it's called the Dyson dye goggles, or ghost goggles, whatever they want to call them. But it's all about that Dyson dye that was so dark. You put them on, it would eliminate all white light. So all of your darker lights, like your auras, your reds, your colors, you can see through it. So I haven't spent the money, but I want to get some just to try it, just because it's there to try.
Right. We've
and the ghosts are an interesting theory.
We've got a friend. They're a family, and they bought a house.
Mm-hmm.
And the people that lived there before them were heavy smokers. They bought the house. They keels the walls like 4 times, and like each time, like nicotine was just coming out of the wall. So they keeled it, got it to where nicotine finally quit coming out of the walls. They repainted everything. They've had a lot of like things that they couldn't explain happen. Well, they were on TikTok one day, the wife was, and there was a lady there. She has a service where you can send her photos of your house, and she can do a reading just based off of the photos. So the family sends them pictures of their living room, the kitchen, and their bedroom. And she emails back a couple days later, and she says, I want you to know you have what I consider to be one of the biggest assholes that I've ever come across. He will blow smoke in your face whenever you are walking through the house. And the family said, like, there were a lot of times that they would just be walking through the house years later, even after keels in the walls and painting the walls and, getting sensies going. They would walk from the living room to the kitchen, and like a puff of smoke would hit them in the face. And she said,
now were they saying they could see it or
they could just smell smoke? It would be be like somebody is 2 foot away and they're smoking a cigarette. And they said, this is years later. Like we've covered up all the nicotine as best as we could. They've always got sensies going in their house. But they're just like, randomly, we'll just be walking through the house and puff of smoke will hit us in the face. And that lady said,
believe that.
That's that guy.
I totally believe that. I was going to tell you, there was a couple occasions where there's a couple places we like to go. There's these antique shops and they do estate sales where people have died or whatever. And like, you'll go to an area that you shouldn't have a certain odor, and you'll smell like a cigar, right? Out of nowhere. Like, not a cigar like, oh, it's fresh, a burning cigar in some of these these pockets where these people's things were. And it'll just hit you out of nowhere. And sometimes even, I collect, my studio kind of resembles what my whole house is like. So I'll collect things from areas that have been haunted, or there was trauma. I have suicide painting on my wall that someone was painting while they were killing themselves. Their blood's in it. I have it hung in I have a room called the Hollywood Hell Room. So I keep all this really cool stuff in that. It's a guest room. People can stay if they want to, but,
you're in the Hollywood Hell Room.
So I know the Hollywood Hell Room. I got 80s room. I got an Edgar Allan Poe, all my guest rooms are themed, but I think I collect stuff throughout my house that I find in those areas, or permission from the homeowner. Could I take this? Blah, blah. And and sometimes we get things here that, a door will just randomly open up for no reason and move through, or just shut behind itself. Or you'll be sitting here talking, all of a sudden, for no reason, out of nowhere, a cool breeze will just go by you and things like that. And that kind of stuff happens. And I'm like, I chalk it up to, the AC kicked on, it pulled some air out of the room. I try to do that sometimes. I'm very skeptical on everything, but I always look at the logic first, and I go, wow, that was it could have been this. That's interesting. So sometimes that'll happen. I'll be walking through and I'll smell like my dad's mother's perfume, and I wasn't really familiar with her per se. She died back in the 90s, but the early 2000s, and I had already been moved away. But when I would go to her, I could smell that. Like, it's a familiar smell that reminds me of my grandparents or my parents. And I think that every now and then there's something like that they can hit your senses with to let you know, hey, they're just checking in, or they're just. I just want to believe that. I'm not saying it's real, but I would like to.
Yeah. Tell me about this painting. So what'd they do? They slit their wrist and made a painting?
Well, the person didn't go. They didn't pass. They were found, and then they were doing it, and they're like, "I'm just going to leave this," and they painted this really cool painting, and they put their blood in it. And I'm still friends with this person today. And they got lucky, and they just didn't want it anymore. And I said, "I'll take it."
That's heavy.
Don't throw it away. Let me have it, because whatever you purge that day is in that painting, and I want it because I'll be able to see if we can get anything off of it, And I'm still wanting Brittany to come over and put an energy reading on it. She has those things that read energy, and you can pull, like, it just tells you hurts, and I want to see if there's anything to it. Like purging things. Like, so let me say this real quick. You have like religious people, Christians, for example. They'll go to church. They'll all run around, they'll go like this and stuff, and they'll say that there's a ghost in them. The Holy Ghost is in me, and they're touching people who are falling over and passing out. And they're saying all this really crazy language, but if you tell them, hey, when you purge something out of your body, in such a fashion into another object, it stays there. That's your negative energy that you threw out, that you didn't use. Oh, that's not real. That's bullshit, right? Well, that's not bullshit, for one. So dealing with those people, it can be tough sometimes, but when it comes down to what I was talking about with the painting, is like, when you purge an energy out, like say you want to get rid of something in your life, right? If you can create a ritual around getting rid of something that you can't stand. So you write it down. This person did this to me, et cetera, et cetera. I'm letting it go. You go out, you build a little thing, you burn it, watch that smoke. So now you're telling your brain, you're telling it. So it's a ritual, right? So you're literally forcing all that energy away, and you're getting your mind to believe that you've done that. So anything ritualistic like that you believe you're doing, I think there was some energy left into that painting of that negative feeling. And I want to see what type of energy we can pull from it, what the ions are, and how it would really work. To me, it's like a study.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Get her over there. Fucking make that an episode.
What?
Right?
I could do that with Brittany, and we could really do that with you, and we could do it live. And I really think that's something we should do. And I can show you the painting too.
My wife loves going to death places, like Lizzie Borden's house.
I do too.
Amityville Horror House. Every time we travel, we go see weird shit. But she's never been, but I've been to Gettysburg, and Gettysburg is the most
it's awesome.
To me, it was the most somber place I've ever been in my life. It has an energy to it that's very depressing for me. Just there's a lot of bad there. You could tell.
Very sad.
Yes. And you can feel it when you pull into it hits you. That whole town just is really, really bad. And I didn't notice it till I left. When I left, it's like you were like really a lot of anxiety while you're there, and then you get away and it's not there before that. And a buddy of mine went deer hunting. It's funny. His wife bought him a deer hunt, at this high fence place, like 20 acres, and you're going to shoot a 250-inch whitetail or something. And so he calls me, and I'm talking to him that night. I go, where you at? He said, I'm in Gettysburg. I said, what are you doing there? And he told me. I said, oh, fuck that. He said, what do you mean? I said, that's a creepy place. He goes, what are you talking about? I said, that's the most haunted place in America. I said, you don't feel the negative energy? Well, I didn't until you said that. He told me when he sat on that deer stand that morning, that's all he could think about.
Was the negative energy?
All the stuff going on around there. I said, yeah, it was very uneasy.
Yeah.
But
because like I said, again, we're taught to believe that all that stuff isn't real. You know, there was a study, if you're interested in that, there's a lot of crystal in the ground there.
I didn't know that.
Right. And they said that it's recorded all the wars and stuff that have gone on there. They're trying to develop technology that they can project what those crystals have recorded. Now, you know, crystals are used for a lot of shit like that, even in our technology today. So I watched this whole episode. It was like a private documentary on, and they're trying to develop technology where they can break these stones down to where they can play back what was seen. So you'll be able to see the war and what people were doing. I say they're really working on that technology right now. And I was reading the other day that they're working on a death phone.
What is that?
So you can call and you can talk to the other side. Like they're literally trying to make that a thing where you can call in that frequency that other side to talk. Like, I don't know how much I believe in that.
yeah, I think that loses me a little bit.
I've seen stranger shit happen, man. So I don't know.
Explain to me how if you go to the Mayan ruins or you go to the pyramids and they've all got pictures of helicopters and stuff inside of them. I mean, that just.
No, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Hieroglyphics with helicopters and stuff. Absolutely. Yeah. I think there's a lot more than we're very blind yet, man. And I think we've been controlled a long time. And I mean, just look at us as a whole now. I mean, I'm 49 years old and I remember coming up what you're taught from the food pyramid to the crap that they put in their grocery stores now. And I don't hunt, but I'm not against hunting. I think that if you took away my opportunity to go down to the Amish, because I like to buy from the Mennonites and the Amish here in Florida. They have great farms. They raise their animals good, so you know you're getting good meat, etc. They have a relationship with their animals. It's not this mass-produced, spray-painted, glued-together meat and these eggs with almost transparent yolks that you're coming out now that they're processing you, right? They're killing us, dude.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
So if that took away, man, I'm going to have to take up hunting, and I'm going to develop a relationship with my own food. A lot of people make the mistake, well, you're an animal guy. You believe it. That's not true. People ask me all the time, you eat alligator meat? I go, yeah, I don't eat my alligators.
Right. It is.
You know, I mean, I have alligators. I'm not eating them. We're buddies. That doesn't mean the processed plant that just put a bunch of meat out, I'm not going to eat it.
Right.
You know, it's funny. You said that.
And then it's a waste.
Yeah. You said about the food pyramid. Our politicians have never seen how to pass a bill that was on Schoolhouse Rock every Saturday was a kid growing up. Talked about how a bill was passed, the whole thing. And there ain't a damn politician in the country that actually knows what our Constitution is about anymore. But that's what reminded me of all the stuff when we were kids. It was on TV every Saturday, and the food pyramid was one of them every Saturday.
Look where that's gotten us 30 years later.
Yep.
Everybody's dying, or they have heart problems, and they blame it all on real food like eggs and meat.
Yeah.
First of all, 6 months ago, I've been on the carnivore diet for 6 months. I don't eat anything that's not animal product. Nothing. I don't eat a vegetable, a potato, a French fry. I don't do any of that stuff ever. And my body transformed into a completely different. And you don't tell. I have holistic doctors. I recommend you get one. These regular big farm doctors, they're just bullshit. Yeah. But you can go to a big farm doctor like, I eat a lot of vegetables and I have some fish. I only eat about 6 ounces of steak a week. And you can bullshit them, do your blood work. Go, it looks great. Not knowing that you eat fucking 3 steaks a day, 12 eggs, because they'll bullshit you, man. And then you look at stuff like your cholesterol levels, and when my parents were young was 300 and something. Now it's supposed to be around 120. Mm-hmm. So yes, I think we grew up in that era of we're lied to, and Big Farm signed in with the FDA, and they all keep the food. They keep you. I really believe this. This isn't a TikTok phase. This isn't an Instagram phase, or if this is real. People are getting it out there, and then the people who are acting, supposedly they kill themselves or fall off their 3rd-story building, but they're telling you it's been a lie because it's like this big chain to keep everybody fat and sick. I mean, seriously, look at Europe. Look at the diet. It's different.
100%. Well, and like the chemicals that Europe will not allow you to put, like you get like a Cheez-It here and a Cheez-It in Europe, it's totally different. It's all
Canada too. Canada. We had no choice but to go to Burger King or McDonald's, and you have to, because when I go and there's nothing to eat, I'll just pull just the meat and eat the meat and go. And I'm at a point now where I don't need to stuff myself with food. I can eat a minimal amount of meat, and the way my body processes protein is great. I recommend it for anybody who wants to do that. Try it. It's
I did it in January.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, it's great, isn't it? Did you feel the difference in your body once you got rid of the not wanting to drink sugar, ETs, and things like that?
Yeah. So out here, we have a hunting lodge, and every night, we got people coming in from all over, and we'll have dinner for them. And, it's got everything. It's dinner, it's dessert, and it's all that stuff. But once I got rid of like the craving for sugar, people don't realize how addicted they are to sugar, and it's everywhere. It's in anything that you eat. I mean, if it's in a box, it's got sugar in it of some sort. So
and added,
and added sugar, and that's another thing.
And synthetic. Yep, it's terrible.
I noticed that my energy level was higher. I didn't crash after a meal as much, and then I've even told my wife this. Like, if I have like a heavy lunch, I'm fucking worthless from about 1 o'clock to 2:30. Like I got brain fog. I'm tired. I can't put thoughts together. So my energy level was higher. I didn't eat as much. I noticed. Because, I would eat 2 meals a day. I would skip breakfast. I might have some bacon or something, just a couple pieces, just to kind of hold me over. But my main meals were lunch and dinner, and I never was hungry throughout the day. I didn't need.
And you stopped thinking about.
I didn't need to snack, in between lunch and dinner. I wasn't craving anything. Right before bed, I was fuller all the time, and I was eating less.
This is what I noticed with it. See, let's see if we had the same thing. You're more normal. You're biologically. Your digestive tract works better. So you're not shitting all the time, all this waste and sick or getting diarrhea for no reason, shit like that. You just piss a lot because you take in more salt and fat, right? And the salt pulls all your body fats out. So you need a lot of salt. I eat to consume a lot of salt. Yeah. Right. And it's really good for your body. They tell you it's not, it's terrible, but I use actual sea salt, ground sea salt or Himalayan, and I'll salt the steaks and I eat them. So you just piss a lot. Yeah. But your body goes into this regular thing. And I love what you said, because you don't feel as hungry all the time. You're not trying to grab a bag of chips. I see it now when I go to Walmart, dude, and I see people shopping. I'm like, you're dying. It's like these 500-pound people with these mega boxes of cereal. They call it family size, but it's like mega box, and they got to get like 6 of those and these super bags of Cheetos. It's like the bigger the bag, the more they'll pay. It's there's so much conspiracy to me, man, when I look around. Like it's like with gasoline. Why do we have to have 3 levels of gasoline? Why can't it just be gasoline and diesel? Right? So I did this one time. I had a company where I did a headliner company. I would remove headliners. Years ago, I would redo headliners in older cars because they would drop, especially in Florida, humidity, people want their cars fixed. So I would run high octane fuel in my vehicle, and I would get better gas mileage than when I put the Jeep gas, but I'd spend more money in cheap gas filling it up more. So then I'm thinking, this has got to be a scam, dude. Like, they know that you're going to burn faster. Right. Then high-end cars, you can't put that shit in it. Yeah. Like, I have a Challenger, and it said nothing under a 98 octane or whatever, or 93 octane. And it was... Or it bangs around.
Yeah, exactly.
But you'll spend more money. You'll spend $600 a month on cheap gas instead of $300 one time. I don't... it's just marketing, and I think about it with the food, too. So, yeah, I agree with you.
And, if you look at the way that early man evolved, there were times where there was no fruits and vegetables. You get to fall and winter, and you were going to eat whatever you could plant. And when that ran out, like if you were a hunter and gatherer, fall and winter, you didn't have fresh nuts and berries. You didn't have fresh fruit and vegetables all the time. So you would go through months of just eating whatever you could kill. And
I'll tell you what, those are the people that are weak.
Well, that's how your body rewind the clock however many thousands of years, your body is used to it. You don't need all the fruits and vegetables all the time. You know what I mean? Like there were such long spans of people, they just ate whatever they could find, whether that be a bison, or if you were lucky enough in the summer months to come across a blueberry bush, you would eat the blueberries. But we get stuck into, you have to have this many fruits, you have to have this many vegetables. And no, like early man ate whatever it could. And there were times where early man couldn't fucking eat anything for 4 days, and he found another gear to chase down his prey for that day.
Exactly. And they learned to eat by larger prey, killing other prey, which taught us. I mean, they didn't get up in the caveman time, go down to Albertsons and get a can of beans. So what's interesting is I was educated on this. I always thought it was Genghis Khan, but I guess it's Genghis Khan is how it's pronounced. Genghis Khan. I learned that. If I'm wrong, that's what I was told. They were telling me. So his men, his soldiers, we were reading this story. His soldiers were pure carnivores.
I didn't know that.
So they had these really cool, like brass insert things that they would stick into their horses when they couldn't eat, and they would drink their blood.
Wow. Right.
Right. To give them to sustain a protein and an iron rich for their blood. Right. And then when they would kill, they'd put their meat under their saddle and they ride until it tenderized it and heat it up. Not they would just consume. And so they would go into these areas where people were eating wheat, germ, and nuts and berries, and they would fuck them up. They had no muscle density, no stamina. They were weak.
Right. Yep.
Right. And I have friends that are pure vegan, and they just, bro, after about 5 years, they start to fucking fail.
100%.
It's just, they don't even see it, man. Like, they don't even see it. It's like they're starting to feel depressed, and they're losing their mind, and they're thinking that this. I'm like, it's your diet. And then if you long term look at these people, they're like, they look like the crypt keeper, dude.
Yeah. Like
they're rotting. They're just, their body's eating their own muscle for protein.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But yet they'll still promote this, clean living. You shouldn't eat deer meat, and you shouldn't have a thing that has eyes. Yeah.
I'm going to stick to it.
Go fuck yourself. How about that?
I was talking to a guy just yesterday. He got on the carnivore diet 2 months ago, a month ago. 2 months ago. He's down 30 pounds, got off blood pressure medicine, sleeping through the night, not snoring anymore. His mood's better. I mean, you know, this is a guy that's in a fairly high stress work environment. And he's like, he's like, my mind would always be running. I wouldn't sleep through the night. I was always up at like 4 o'clock in the morning. He's like, I'm sleeping till 6 o'clock every morning. I can go 12 hours a day. He's like, and I got off my blood pressure medicine. So
because I think processed food keeps you that way, man. And we know now that sugar feeds cancer. We know that the large sugar consumption keeps us lethargic, and then we want caffeine, and then we buy this caffeine, and then we go back to this, and it just keeps I think the people who own these companies don't eat what they sell.
No, they don't. They know it's killing you.
You know, they don't eat what they sell.
And it's just like you said, it was a perfect example. It's just a hamster wheel that you get on. You get down and then you crash, and then you need that sugary drink to get you back up, and then it's just an endless cycle.
And it's that brainwashing they do in schools. And my cousin will tell you, I've never been a fan. I think schools are bullshit, just like hospitals and prisons. I think they're all geared the same way. Okay. They put kids let's just face it. And somebody's going to get offended or not, dude. Some of you just have stupid kids. They're dumb, right? So their dummies need to be taught dummies. It's not their fault. They're just born dumb. I mean, I'm sorry. People get so upset when I say that, but then you got kids that are really bright. And some of them call him, oh, well, he's just autistic. No, he's just really smarter than you. Right. That's it. And I think that you bring all these kids in the same group, you try to make all the dumb ones the smart ones, and all the smart ones the dumb ones, and you put them together, and you tell them this, you have to have this every day, you have to do this, you have to abide by this, you have to do homework, and it's like this control. And they do it from the inside out, and they start it when you're little, and they bring you up that way with lies. Well, take your kids out, man. Teach them at home if you can. If you have a parent at home, teach them. You know, some of the stuff they're teaching in schools are relevant. I don't give a fuck what Benjamin Franklin did. And now when you look at what Benjamin Franklin, he was like a rapist and a molester, and he did. Do you read some of the stuff he was about? Or what was the other guy, Christopher Columbus? Yeah. He was a real piece of shit too, man.
Yeah, he had.
But when you're a kid, you think as a hero, but he's out there he wasn't sharing turkeys. He was just killing and raping. He was a scumbag, dude.
It was a conqueror's time back then. You know, and I.
But I mean, think about what they made you think, though.
Right. You know, and I think like the ADD and the stark rise in ADD that you've seen, you've just got hyperactive boys is all that it is. Like that's just
100%. They need to be outside. Let them do something.
Yeah. There's I don't care how well behaved your 6-year-old or 7-year-old is. If you stick them in a room with fluorescent lights and make them sit in the same spot for 8 hours a day, you're going to start to see some behavior that's not the best. 5 and 6-year-olds were meant to run around and play until they fell over.
I agree.
And it's just
they need to. It's stimulating the brain's growing. They're excited. They're functioning. They're playing. Their imagination is growing. I agree with you 100%.
When you think about it, it's kind of sad about what they do because you know, like if a 6-year-old really is excited about learning, let's say that's what it is, and he's excited about learning whatever it is, his colors, his ABCs, or whatever, and he starts acting out. He doesn't know how to handle all that emotion. He's just excited, and it's got that energy has to go somewhere. And then the teacher's like, no, you got to sit down and shut up for the next 8 hours until I'm done talking. Well, he's just excited is all that it is. And we penalize kids for that. Sit there, shut up until I'm done. It's sad.
We do.
You rob all the joy of learning from these kids a lot of times.
We did this program. We worked for the zoo. A really good friend of mine. We were advisors down there, and we would get this group of kids that were autistic. And the trick that we had with them is we just treated them like humans and gave them a task and helped them through.
Yeah, boy,
and you find that the parents make these kids worse. They make them worse because they're not expanding their brain because they're giving into what they were told. And some of these kids really enjoyed planting, cutting grass, raking with the big tortoises. Like they just got to, he can't go in there. He'll be scared. He's not scared.
He's fine.
He loves it. You'll find that he's not verbal, but now he's talking to one of the animals when no one's around, but he's nonverbal. Think about it. Just giving them a chance and broadening their horizons, man, makes a difference, and get them off a shit diet.
Yeah. We, my oldest son, he's got a birthday this week. Last weekend we went to a trampoline park. I felt bad for so many kids because there were so many 7-8-year-old kids that were fucking fat wearing glasses. And it's like, dude,
what's wrong with kid wearing glasses?
Because I know that to get bad eyesight at 7 or 8 years old, all they've done is sat and look at a fucking iPad for the majority of their life.
I had glasses when I was 7. I didn't even own an iPad.
You're a majority. You're a minority, Jeff.
There's a lot of kids in my elementary club. We didn't have autism. We didn't have ADD. We didn't have nobody on fucking crack or anything like that. And we didn't.
And they could eat peanuts.
Yeah, and I ate fucking peanuts all fucking day long. But I had to wear glasses when I was 7 and 8. When I got older, I didn't have to. But I had glasses as a kid. I read a lot. Is that from reading a book?
That's probably
because
why.
I read too much
in a low light environment. Okay. Scratch the glasses thing since Jeff's fucking offended about me saying that these little fat kids wearing glasses is not
the fat kids don't bother me.
Is not a relation to too much screen time, because I think that it is, but we can agree to disagree. But you got all these kids at a trampoline park that's supposed to be fun. There was one fat little girl that came up.
Fat little girl.
I watched them walk in. 20 minutes later, she comes up to her mom like, I'm ready to go. She's fucking sweating, I'm like, I hope they got a defibrillator for this little girl.
I love that you're touching on that, because a lot of people don't want to say that, dude. You want to be like, oh, it's a kid, it's innocent, but you're making that kid a slob.
100%.
Dude. Like, I look at some of the parents, and one of the things I always loved about it is, like, you see this family in like one of the grocery stores. Like, they don't go to good grocery stores because they can't afford to shop in there usually, so they'll go to, like, let's just say Walmart, right? Then you have like all these kids. So the kids are maybe, the oldest one's probably 8, and he already is 250 pounds.
Yeah.
Right. The dad can hardly walk. He's in overalls. His feet look like they're baking bread. And what are they getting? Junk. But they're all wearing masks.
Right. Yeah. That's what's going to kill us.
What in the absolute fuck is that, dude? Like, okay, I understand you might be sick and you don't want to spread something and you're wearing a mask, whatever. It's
right.
But every one of them is wearing a mask. We don't want y'all sick. Get your mask on. Here, put this cancer. Have some cancer. Have a little cancer. You want that soda? Here, have some saccharin and aspartame.
Right.
You won't be able to reproduce. I think that's done on purpose too. What was
I got
that?
a pitch real quick.
Go ahead. I play Santa Claus every year a couple of times in town, and it has amazed me how heavy these freaking kids are. I've got grandkids. We had 3 boys and we had grandkids, and none of my grandkids are big kids. They're solid, but they're not. I mean, they're not fat kids. But man, I'm telling you what, I pick up some of these little 6-year-old kids. Them suckers weigh 70 pounds. I'm like,
I know,
God,
because it's junk food, bro.
It's all they, and it's sad. And I'm not one. Andy goes to the gym all the time. I don't. I don't do all that stuff, and I eat bad stuff probably all the time. I drink hot tea every morning with some sugar or honey in it every time, and I eat a shortbread cookie with it every morning for breakfast, and that shit's bad for me. So I'm being a hypocrite because I'm just as bad as most everyone else is. But I was too, man. And once I stopped doing all that, it was crazy how your body just changes. I mean, but these kids, we were in Tennessee a couple of years ago filming a hunting show, and a lady we walked into, and we went to a soul food place, just a soul food, Southern food, whatever you want to call it, macaroni and cheese, fried chicken, peach cobbler, pie. You know what kind of restaurant I'm talking about? A Southern cafe.
Absolutely
Went
do.
There, and the food was great. But this lady was in there with her daughter, and the lady was 2.5 biscuits probably, and she had a little girl that had more chins than a Chinese phone book on her, and that girl's like, "Mama, can we get a pie for the house?" Well, of course, we always get a pie. And Andy goes, "Boy, they're killing that little girl, and they don't even realize it." And he was right. I mean, they did.
And the little kids, they don't know. And so, don't you think that that's a form of child abuse?
That's what Andy said. But when we and it's. I just grew up in a different time. I'm 56, and there wasn't a kid that was fat in 1976. By today's standards, isn't fat. He was just wearing husky jeans. I mean,
oh, you remember them 14 Huskies?
Like the kid that's
there was like you get a 12 Slim or a 14 Husky back in the day. I remember. I grew up in the 80s, bro.
The Sandlot kid that's the redheaded kid.
Yeah,
that's
the catcher.
The catcher. That was a fat kid when I was in school, and he realized today's standards, he's fucking one of the skinny ones probably. Mm-hmm. But that was the fat kid, and everybody had one. We had a fat kid that was a catcher too. Every team's fat kid played catcher or played goalie if they soccer. We didn't play soccer, but
100%.
We didn't have. Everybody could wear the same freaking. Like if your coach said, "What size are you?" Everybody was a small, a medium, or large, whatever age you were. That's what you, and everybody fit the same thing. You same pants, same everything was the same. And today, you can't find very many thin kids, and that's a shame. It really is. And parents would, but you tell a mama that her kid's fat, oh shit, she get all defensive about.
But all
shit.
that does,
yeah. But you should know already. You should know.
It just feeds the machine though, because now all of a sudden you're just getting people on these blood pressure medications. You're just getting them at an earlier age instead of waiting until they're 40. You're getting them at 20.
Yeah, and I've also noticed a thing where a lot of kids now, I was talking to my doctor, you go in, you want to have hormone therapy done, especially as you get older, you want to check your hormones and shit. And they're telling me that kids are coming in there at 20 years old with like a 200, 150 testosterone.
Yeah.
Men.
Right.
So it's getting depleted by the food.
Mm-hmm.
You know it is.
It's got to be something.
You should not be like that at 20 years old.
I don't understand these kids that buying fucking Viagra that are in college. I'm 56 years old and I still don't need Viagra. And I'm not saying there ain't
exactly.
I'm not saying that there's not some older men that need it. I don't have a problem with that. What do you do? I don't give a shit. I just can't believe in 22 years old, if your pecker can't get up by looking at a hot chick, you got some fucking problems.
Right.
You're 100% correct, bro. You should be able to fuck your way through a concrete wall. And so what I'm going to say is it's because of what they're doing to their body, man. I think everything's so immediate now between pornography and food, what they're putting in their body, the drugs that are available. I think it's destroying the whole human race as a whole. I think it's planned. And it's keeping everybody rich.
Yeah, I don't.
That's making money off.
Yeah, I just don't get it. I don't understand it. I had some young college kids here, and they were talking about a guy in their fraternity, and he was doing Viagra. I'm like, what? He was taking Viagra? Why? What's wrong with him?
I'm trying.
Well, I've noticed nowadays too, man. Like, I hope this doesn't really bother anybody. You can cut it out.
We don't cut nothing out.
You're good.
I mean, a lot of the, I'm trying to say it in such a fashion I can do it because I'm sure Discovery's going to watch this. But I think that the men nowadays that you see around, like when I grew up, and I'm 6'1", and I was always pretty good size. I spent a lot of time in the gym when I was younger. But now these kids, they're small. The men are like tiny. Like, yeah, they can grow a beard, but they look like a little girl, teenage girl growing a beard. They're as big as their girlfriends. They're emotional. They cry all the time. I mean, and they're trying to make you think that that's bad. Like, oh, well, you should be emotional and you should act like this. And well, what happened to not having to throw all your emotions around all the time and suck it up and get through it, because life sucks and we just have to all get there. We can't spend time. When I was a kid, there was no safe spaces.
No shit. No,
I was bullied when I was a kid. I had long hair. They used to call me all kinds of terrible shit and fucking try to beat me up on the playground and shit. But you got to have that, man. I think that's your pecking order kind of thing.
I tell this all the time. The problem in our country right now is them little fuckers that we beat in dodgeball are running all the shit now.
Oh my God, it's true. But I mean, I'm looking at it now, dude. Like, I just remember growing up, and I just don't remember men being so.
Alpha males are hard to find, even in small towns. You can't hardly find them like you used to.
I saw we were getting gas before we left the trampoline park, and there was one of these guys like you're talking about, and like his girlfriend he's standing outside with his girlfriend. I'm assuming it was his girlfriend. Maybe it's his sister. I don't know. Either way, he was standing outside.
Could be. Depends on what state
she was
in.
pumping the gas.
He was going to say that, and she probably paid for it too.
She was pumping the gas and cleaning the windshields.
Did you say anything?
No, I just laughed.
That's the problem. Older man would have said, my dad, what do you think Ron would have said to him?
I don't know, but like you said earlier, it's just a perfect description. Like, he's standing there, his shoulders are kind of slumped forward, like you're not sure where the neck is on him, got this little scraggly beard, and this girl pumping gas and fucking squeegee in the windshield. I'm like, dude, come on, man.
I don't
understand. What are we doing here?
Yeah, like I don't, if for all you females, if you want to clean your
100%.
windshield, that's
You
cool.
do it.
But I do think that the guys nowadays are getting a little lazy, and they're making them like nothing. But then I find a lot of women are complaining that their men's a pussy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's such a wimp. He doesn't defend me anymore. He doesn't do this and that. Well, you've beat these people down now to the faith is that you have to be like you. So we're all like this unisex thing walking around anymore.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a place, in my opinion, man. Women can do anything men can do. I've never said they couldn't. But if you want to stay home and be a mom and raise your kids, cool. If you want to be a dad and stay home and raise your kids, cool. If the other person's making a significant income and you can take care of that, motherfucking awesome,
right.
dude. But if not, you got to buck up and get together and make shit happen, right? You can't. There comes a time when a female has to be an emotional leader and support for the family, and then there's a time where a male has to be emotional and a leader. I mean, but this beating them down to nothing is ridiculous.
The only thing
it's demasculating, dude.
That is one thing that we have done in society is
we're the only country that does it too, bro. I'm just telling you that right now.
We have beat the piss out of young men, like morally. I mean, you just look at the. That's the only thing that came out of this Me Too movement is that it just beat young men to a pulp. Every man is a predator, and this what is it? Toxic.
No, and that's not true at all.
Toxic masculinity. That's the thing. That's the thing, and it's just.
Yep.
Guys are
Now some things that people act like there are people that are examples of that do things that make it look bad for everybody else, but not everybody's like that, man. And I think that's a big deal. In but women also, if you're out there swinging on a dude and he knocks your fucking head off, don't complain about it.
Right.
I would.
Don't fucking go hit anybody. Don't you do that. When I used to hear that growing up all the time. Oh, if you hit a woman, you're a piece of shit. Well, they shouldn't be punching a dude in the face. You want to have a discussion or argument, have it. Nobody should be swinging on nobody.
Mm-mm. No.
That's where you're going to get a quick understanding of how the world works. And then you can't say, oh, look what happened. Nobody should be beating on anybody, in my opinion, for no reason at all. You just should not do it. I don't care what sex you are. Don't do it.
I've never hit a woman. I'll never hit a woman. And I got hit by a woman at a frat party one night. Popped me right in my freaking nose. And I didn't hit her, but I was beating up her.
That's good of you, sir.
I was beating up her boyfriend.
So see, there she's sticking up for her man.
But I saw rings coming at me.
That's different.
I saw rings coming at me, and she popped me right in my fucking nose. It was bleeding and shit.
Was it slow motion? Just
it took forever to hit me right in the face. And my buddy goes, grab that bitch, and and pulled her off of me. But she was a lot tougher. I told him, I said, she hits a lot fucking harder than you do, buddy. And
well, I saw somebody do that at a store. Hit their man inside the face because he put something in the basket.
Oh Jesus!
Now let's imagine if that role was different.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, no, Jennifer, I told you I didn't want it. Bam! Oh my God, he's a beater. He's beating everyone, But it's okay for her to haul off, just slap him from behind his back too. Slap him across the head from behind. Like, I told you I don't want that shit. Why'd you put that in there? And he's just like, takes it. Oh my God, I would have wrapped that basket around her head, dude. What are you talking about? You can't do that to somebody and get away with it, man. That's
the only.
At that time, sex isn't a thing anymore. At that time. Once you trigger somebody in a fight, then it's human to human. It doesn't matter what you're dingle dangling, dude. He could be an innie or outie, dude. You're hitting the ground.
There are certain things that a man is more equipped to do than a woman. 99% of the men or 99% of the women have no business as a police officer when they're going to get into an altercation.
Or a fireman having to drag
a man out of a fire. They're just not built for it. And women, I hate to tell you women libbers this, but this is the truth. You can't make sperm. I don't give a shit what you are. I don't care what year you are. I don't care what you think you are. You can't make fucking sperm no more than a man can create an egg. Mm-hmm. That we are separate deals. But there are certain things that both of us are better at. Open heart surgery, woman's as good as a man. She wants to drive a forklift, I don't have a problem with that. But when it comes to physical stuff, a man is better. Look what's going on in the NCAA right now. You got a man that can't compete in men's sports, so he goes over and plays girls, takes some injections, acts like he's going to get a tit job, but he's still got an anchor when he jumps in the pool and swims, but he can outswim him because men are built different. And I don't care what you do.
100, bigger, normally bigger and stronger. Now, there are some women out there that are giants, dude, but it's a freak of nature. But yeah, as a general rule, they're just stronger.
Like China, the rest. I wouldn't want to tangle with that bitch. I'm telling you right now.
Right.
She was a big old gal.
Well, and then
China?
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Why would you want to change that? Why wouldn't you? Why? what I think is interesting is that men are now becoming women and they're running women.
Yeah. Right.
So, but why would you want to take the beauty of being a woman away from a woman anyways? Like, or the strength of a man? Why would you want to change that? You are already a beautiful creature. Why would you want to change that to something? For what? What are you trying to prove?
I mean, and they gave Woman of the Year to Caitlyn Jenner, to Bruce Jenner.
And he thought that was terrible.
He should.
He talked about that. He's like, this is ridiculous. This is not,
but that's something like you said, though. It's like the woman is this beautiful creature. And now we're going to take away the accolades as to a woman that deserves it. And we're going to give it to a guy and say that that's Woman of the Year. Like, you're taking away anything that women had. Right. I mean, now,
but they don't see it that way. Unfortunately, a lot of the people who are extremely into that movement don't see it that way. I'm trying to be as clear as I can. Like, I'm not saying that women can't do everything we can do. I don't want that to come across that way. I'm just saying that there are some really good things in your life that I agree with what you're talking about strength wise. I can get into that too, like with alligators.
Yeah.
When we're working alligators, there's a lot of young women that are really good with alligators. And some of the ones that I know that are really good working them, like catching them, being able to jump on them and catch big ones, are really good at what they do, but they know their limitations, right? If you have small hands, you're not grabbing a 13-foot alligator's mouth and holding it shut because your fingers don't go around the jaws,
Yep.
right? So even then, there's something that a larger person has to handle. And there's very rarely is there a woman NBA size to be able to do that. That's over 6'1" that has giant hands.
I'm going to switch the subject just a little bit. Have you seen the video where they're dicking around with an alligator and he sticks his hand in its mouth somehow? And then like it clamps its jaws on the dude's hand.
On the side of the street when he was on the road trying to be a gator guy? Was it on like he was on the street and he was trying to wrestle and he put his hand in and grabbed him?
I don't know if it was that or not, but there were like 3 or 4 dudes with him. But once that gator clamps its jaws shut, what do you have to do to pry it back open?
Pray.
It depends. Sometimes, man, if you're on the back of an alligator, you just got to make sure it doesn't spin. That's the most important.
That's what they did. They jumped on the gator's back and held it down. He's like, it's not going to go anywhere. He had his buddies with him.
I think I remember what you're talking about now. It was on like a beach scene. It was at night and everybody was together, I believe. I'm pretty sure I've seen that. That was just somebody trying to do something they shouldn't have done. But the key is don't let it spin, obviously. Right. And sometimes you have to take a crow or a pry bar and try to twist it open because you're talking about thousands of pounds of pressure per square inch, right? So when an animal slams down like that, dude, it's holding. I've had my hand stuck in a mouth before, and if you've seen Justin on the show, he's missing most of his arm and his fingers. I mean, he's one of the best alligator wrestlers there are, and people go, well, he's that good. He wouldn't be hurt. You do it 7 days a week, 4 times a day, especially for shows. Accidents happen. I don't care what profession you're in, period, end of story. But you definitely do that, or sometimes if you're very gentle, the animal, if you lay long enough, the animal will start to relax. You know, you kind of like, you'll tickle the nose a little bit and their jaws relax. It's just quick enough for you to get your hand out. Sometimes it has to be pried open. And a lot of times I've seen them use the like a hydraulic jack where it's built like this. They shove it into the mouth and they pump it and it opens up like that. And then they get their hand out. But it's a hydraulic jack.
Because that's where they're strongest, right? That's where the gator, like, that's why you can hold their mouth open, right? Because they're not as strong coming down as they are.
You can hold their mouth open if they allow it. If they really want to force their jaw shut, a big one, they can pretty much do it. If they start to flail, they're pretty strong. Generally, they habituate and they'll calm down pretty easily, or they'll gas out is the word we use. But we don't really do a lot of that wrestling stuff anymore. I mean, like, I don't do it. I know that it's not something I ever practiced. It wasn't something I got into. I didn't work with them that way. I mean, I know how to catch them, obviously, and open their mouth, but I never did any of that. But that's like a Native American tradition that they did back in the day because they kind of had to catch them. They had to learn how to do it on their own for food. And then it became a sideshow where people would come pay money to see how they did it. And then it turned into kind of a showman thing. But you're correct. I just want to clear that up for the animal rights activists. I want to correct it that that yes, it's easier to open it as far as keeping it open. No, because when they close, that's their strength. Holding it closed is easier than holding it open.
Right. So basically, once it clamps,
closing is better. So holding it closed is easier than holding it open. They can close their mouth if they want.
So how did you get your hand out?
Are you guys? I'll give the story. We were on a movie set, and here's how I got my hand out. I was with a professional. That's the best way I can tell you. There used to be a TV show called The Gator Boys. It was a TV show out of Florida. These guys went around, rescued alligators and stuff like that. And then Jimmy Riffle is one of the lead guys in that show, but he's a really good alligator handler. And we were on a movie set and we had an alligator in the bathtub scene, and we were on each side of the tub, and Jimmy was in the back of him watching the tail, and this guy was doing the scene. He'd whip the curtain open and yell, "I'll feed you this gator, bitch." Right? Well, he stepped on the alligator's tail, and when the alligator felt it, the reaction was to move. And when he did that, he moved. He went over and he clamped on my hand. He didn't get really nuts, and I looked over at Jimmy. I'm like, he's got my hand. Don't let him spin. He's got my hand. So he had my hand inside of his mouth. It's the only time my rings really helped me out, but it because it was like holding against my rings. It sucked, but it wasn't like I was losing anything. And he Jimmy quietly crawled over top while they were resetting, like crawled up on this animal and got up inside around its eye level. And he went up over top of their snout and started like tickling his nose like this. And the animals start to relax a little bit. And I was able to get my hand out before the next scene.
Wow.
So they never even knew that my hand was stuck in there, dude. But if it had started to roll in the tub, it would have clearly taken off my fingers, because it's going to start rolling. It's like getting your hand stuck in a you take a dirt bike and stick your hand while it's going 60 miles an hour into the spokes. That's what it's like getting spun on. It just rips it right off. They just twist it off.
Are the little ones worse as far as like cutting you? Because their teeth they look so fucking sharp.
Yeah, man, I don't know. I think I'd rather be bit by a little one just because I can take the cut rather than have my whole limb completely smashed or torn off of my body. But, to be truthful, they are sharp, but I think it's worse. Once those animals get to be about 6 feet, I think an alligator between 6 and 9 feeters, they're the worst.
Really?
Dude. They're the most dangerous. 100%.
Just because they're still kind of
once they get past 9 feet and they're 13, they're kind of giant. You can kind of predict them. They move a little slower. Not that they're not fast, but they move slower. A 6-foot alligator is insane, dude. It's like fucking wrestling up. And working with crocodiles, they're way more skilled than an alligator. Way more skilled, more flexible, a lot stronger, more witty. They don't gas out as fast. They're like an athlete, dude. Like an alligator is like a pro wrestler, and then the fucking is like a triathlon runner as a crocodile. Like they're just
right.
Just blast off crazy.
Because that's the thing with any reptile, they're like sprinters, right? Like even like snakes and reptiles,
they can get going.
Gas out.
Except not a tortoise for sure.
Right. Yeah. Well, they're built for a quick burst, and then they've either got the prey or they don't. They're not conditioned for like a long bout. So you can gas out a python.
For eventually, well, it depends on the size. So I have a almost 19-foot green anaconda here, and she's super cool. But when she feeds and you see her take a rabbit, like everything I feed is frozen thawed. I don't do any live feedings, but we don't want any of that type of shit. We don't want that type of aggression. I don't want my employee getting his head ripped off by accident because, she's overzealous and they hyperfocus. But when you take the rabbit's feet and you go in there, you're talking 20-pound rabbit. And she yanks that thing out of your hand, dude, like you got hit by a car. So if she was to miss that, right? Seriously, and you're being a professional and she wraps you, you're not gassing it out. You're done.
Oh, shit.
Like you're absolutely done. So we have protocols here. My guys don't go in there unless there's 2 people here, because you always have to have that safety measure. And then I have an employee that will feed, and I have him use I have these big tongs that he has to hold, because if the snake misses, I want the tongs, not the snake. I'm not getting him, So with that being said, yeah, I don't think you can gas out that big python right off the bat. I think it's got you. Once it wraps you up, man, it's big enough. You're pretty done.
Now, you said you've got an anaconda?
Yeah. I do. I have 3. I have 3. I have a yellow too. I have 2 greens.
How are they different from a python?
Well, they're boas. They're in the boa family. They live in the water, so they're pretty much a fully aquatic animal, and they are the largest snake in the world. Pythons are the longest. You have a reticulated python, that's the longest snake. Then you have the anaconda that can get 20 feet and weigh 500 pounds.
So they're like cousins, basically?
Pretty much, kind of like an alligator and a crocodile. It's just a little more advanced. Anacondas are they're amazing, dude. They're just amazing animals, dude. I mean, huge.
We went to Costa Rica, and there's a bridge, and it's all saltwater crocodiles under there where you can get chicken. People are selling you chicken.
They're American crocodiles. That's actually the acutus. That's the same ones we have native.
Oh, really?
Yeah, saltwaters are the porosus in Australia. But I'm not correcting you. I'm just so people know. You're talking about Crocodile Bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are Americans. I have those here. I have a couple of those.
It's just crazy. Like you would throw chicken down there, and like they're just snapping it. Just.
Oh yeah.
Fuck that.
They're a big animal, man. They're beautiful. They're beautiful animals. Yeah, yeah. The American crocodiles, they're awesome.
When did you start like collecting all this shit?
My whole life, my family has had animals like that since I was young. My parents, my mom more than my dad, but my parents have always been into wildlife and animals. So that we've always had cool stuff like sloths and llamas and horses and iguanas, you know, stuff that you start out with as a kid, you know, turtles, tortoises, things like that. And as I got a little bit older, towards 15 years old, I started collecting big snakes, and then I started getting into alligators and crocodiles, and it's just taken off from there. And I've had them my whole life. Like, so professionally in Florida now, I'm going on 30 years of working with them professionally. So it's a crazy thing.
You want to stay at his house?
No, I'm good. The hell room and the pythons and everything.
Hell no.
Anaconda.
Yeah, man. I got owls too. They're pretty cool. You can come.
Do you have a sloth still?
I don't. Justin does. Justin has one. So if we need one, we just call him. Say, hey, we got to bring a sloth out for the birthday kids. We bring. Justin.
Now, what are they like? Because we went to it was a cocoa plant. It was a cocoa place where they were doing and they had a sloth there, and they were like, be sure don't touch it. I don't know. Like he didn't expand on that, but we didn't touch the sloth. I was afraid.
So you listened.
Fuck yeah, I did. I was afraid like they look slow, but like if I touch it, like you're going to see the supersonic speed, and he's going to take my finger off. So I'm just wondering.
Well, there's some truth to that. I think the reason not to touch it is because they get stressed out very easily because they're a very solitary, quiet, slow-moving creature. But they're very strong, right? So if you were to touch one and he got a hold of you and he pulled you, he can pull you to him before you can get it. He can bite you. I've seen them reach out and swing their arm pretty quick. They can burst energy when they want to. Is it super fast? No. But if you don't know what you're doing and they get that hook, they got those two toes and they can hook you. It depends on where you were. It could have been a two-toed or a three-toed. Could have been a Hoffman's. Could have been any of that. But if they grab you, they'll pull you real hard and they'll bite down on you. And then they have bacteria in their mouths. You can get sick. I mean, it's
be a hell way to go getting bit by a sloth.
Domesticated ones aren't like that. But in the wild, you probably shouldn't, And they're very hard, even in captivity, to keep. They're ectothermic, so they're pretty much a cold-blooded mammal. So they got to be kept really, really warm, and they just die, and the bacteria will take over their body. So they got to be in real warm climates. So like right now, we're cooling down at night into the to almost 70 degrees, I guess 68 degrees, which is not good for a sloth. So Justin moves them indoors, and then they get a heated room where they're staying 85, 90 degrees with high humidity. So it's a lot of people get them and they kill them, which is terrible for the animal because they really don't know the research. It's cute and everybody wants one, and they're awesome, but
what about?
I prefer lemurs, and if you want, I'll bring one on the show here for you. If you think it'll entice your people, I'll go get one and let them sit with. I have a big black and white lemur.
What's the animal? It's orangutan in the old Clint Eastwood movies. And I know it's a movie, and he didn't rip the car apart and stuff. Those are strong animals, though, aren't they?
Yeah, as we talked about earlier, orangutan can pull you in half. An adult male orangutan can just pull you apart. Like it's sitting still. Like if you were to tear a newspaper, that's what it can do to you. Like they have the strength of about 8 men in one body is their equivalent. 4 to 8 men, I think. And if you look at what they can do, they can just take your arms and go without even trying, dude. It'd be harder for you to tear a newborn baby's arms off than it would be for him to tear your arms off. That's
That's crazy. Hey, we were talking about the Everglades earlier. Did you see, this is an older site, but I'm just now finding it. They found like an old ancient burial site, and this was in the 80s when they found it, but it's called the Wendover Archaeological Site. They'd bury their people underwater, and then they would encase them in like peat moss and like perfectly preserved them.
The bogs. Like a bog.
Where's that at?
It says it's a Wendover Archaeological Site. It's in Brevard County.
It's South Florida. It's Brevard. That's right across. That's on the Gulf Coast over near Daytona, Melbourne area. That's Brevard.
Yeah, they found like 168 bodies or something like that.
That's
said it
awesome.
was like 7,000 years old is how old this burial site was.
That's pretty awesome, if you ask me.
But yeah, I guess those people figured out, I guess that was just their burial rituals. They'd stick them in the water and just a hunter-gatherer community, basically.
And they would bog. They're almost like the bog people that they found over there. They're all preserved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what they said.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, perfectly preserved underneath these, just in the swamps, basically. But they put enough shit on there to where alligators and stuff wouldn't mess with them or couldn't smell them or sense them or whatever.
Which is interesting that they had all that understood how to do that. To me, that was their technology. They knew how to keep that from, I mean, obviously we have computers and all that kind of stuff now, but their technology was very earth-based, and they knew all how to do that, right? Before, ibuprofen and Tylenol and embalming.
And they said one of them, they were able to, the gut contents were found in many of the burials. One of them, they assumed this person got sick because they had her stomach it had a lot of elderberry, wild grapes, prickly pear fruit, and they think that they were using that stuff as like medicine to try to get this person better. And obviously she succumbed to her illness, whatever it was. But we don't give our ancestors enough credit for how smart they actually were.
No, I agree 100%. I agree with that. You're talking about their knowledge of plant life and what they use for medicine and healing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we know it, and we just use it into big farm, like all the stuff we do, because pretty much every medication is a plant base.
Right.
I
just think that,
and I think I agree with that.
IQ wise, they might not be where we are today, but they had just a deep understanding of how the world really worked.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. I agree. I think there was so much that they took from us and they keep from us and let us have it a little at a time so they can keep making money. I think there's a cure for everything, bro. I really believe that. Everything.
Yeah. Well, I used to think that with will we ever find a cure to cancer? But like you said earlier, it's our sugar intake. If you can cut out your sugar.
Yeah. And I think there is cures to cancer, but they're not going to give them to you, bro. It's $1 billion industry.
That's true. The problem is how many famous, powerful people died from it. You know what I mean? Like, if there were a cure out there, like that just tells you how under wraps it really is that Steve Jobs died from cancer. He had every resource available.
And Ted Kennedy.
But that just tells you how
people hated Ted Kennedy.
But he still was a powerful guy. I can't stand the bastard. But he was powerful.
He was, but not powerful enough. And like I said, I think that there's just something you get in the way of some people and you're done. I think Steve Jobs is in the way of a lot of things, like fucking Bill Gates. Don't forget that.
That's another worthless piece of shit. Him and George Soros.
Yeah. So think about that though. Steve Jobs is in their way, and he was way more of he understood. He was a visionary.
Yeah.
So what better way to, let him suffer. Let him
Right.
die. Don't give him that. There's interceptions, I think. I think there's a lot more people that have cured themselves of things that shouldn't have been cured of things that are still around that are worthless people. And we've seen that happen too.
What, I want to switch back to the paranormal. What's the one site that you've been to that scared you the most?
Scared me. I don't know. I don't want to sound like I'm cool, like scared, but like made me feel uneasy. One of the craziest ones I was in, where I was over, was in St. Augustine, which a lot of people don't realize is the oldest city in the United States. They found there was this place off one of these side streets that had been turned into a hotel or a bed and breakfast. And when the new owners had bought it, they started tearing it apart to refurb, and they found bars and carvings in the floor. So then it became a historic site. So now there was carvings from way back in the 1400s in the floor from inmates and prisoners. They found bars in the wall. They pulled the plaster out. The bars were there. The lock and key. They're like, this was an actual jail before the big jail was built. Like, you can go to the fort there, and you can go on the back wall where they were assassinating people, line them up. The blood is still in the wall, dude. It's so fucking crazy. You can still see it. But we went in there, and we had a lot. Brittany and I were in there. We had a lot of crazy shit. There was a lot of really weird antics and things going on and uncomfortable feelings. So I think that was probably one of the most uncomfortable things I felt, because it was really close, like to where you're thinking, like, is this, could we really lose control of ourselves right now and really get hurt, kind of a thing. And I think, to answer your question, that was probably, I don't really think it was in my head that time. I think we were just really into something there that was probably not good, if you know what I mean.
Have you ever like brought anything home, like a negative energy that you had to like purge yourself of?
I kind of do that type of practice old views on how to keep that from happening to you, like old druid and paganistic rituals to keep that from happening long before, like, a lot of times throughout my house, you'll see a lot of pentagrams through the house. And that was used actually by early Christians and a lot of pagans to keep certain spirits away, 5-point stars. Now, I know that when we grew up in the 80s, it was all about, devil worship and heavy metal or whatever, but that's really not what that's used for. So I'm sure there's going to be people that watch your show like, oh my God, he's a Satanist. That's not the case. The case is we use old relics and things like that we believe in our own self, that whether we're telling our mind something different or not, that we use certain things to keep that stuff from coming. So I've never brought anything to my home that has come back with me in a sense that I feel that has been evil or who's going to cause me any harm. I think there's some mischievous things that happen here once in a while that I can't explain, which could be coincidence or wind or whatever. But no, I haven't brought anything back. And I've had some pretty cool relics, and I don't think I brought anything back that's so bad. Now, there has been people that have been here in my life that have stayed with me, or family that have lived with me for a little while that have those types of things with them. And when they go, it goes with them. There's their negative energy. And the theory of, you'll probably hear people talk about, we see shadow people, right? You probably heard someone say shadow people. Well, a lot of mysticists and mediums say that the shadow people are shed trauma. They're not really a person or anything. It's a shed trauma from somebody. So it begets this energy, which builds itself. And then whatever you see it as, it can become that, that's the theory. So a lot of the shadow people just shed trauma. But I think where I live here, this at one time was an orange grove, but before that it was wide open land here on the outskirts, and there was a lot of Native American tribe stuff. And I think just because of some of the stuff that, like when people are here, they look across the street or on the other property and they're like, man, I just saw somebody walking over there. I get that a lot here, dude. Yeah. Right? Like they're like, I just saw somebody over there. And I'm like, oh, maybe. I hear that a lot, and I see stuff too sometimes. And then I thought, wow, but maybe they built onto something, some sacred ground here. Maybe they built onto a burial ground that, a lot of people go, ooh, that sounds like a storybook. But I think there's a lot to that. Putting foundations, living foundations over a sacred ground that someone puts sacred energy into. I think that there's wandering. Or maybe we're just in an area, like I said, where the time bends and it just was popular at that time and we're seeing stuff. Could be that too.
Now with this show,
I don't want to sound too
with freaky. This show that you're doing, do y'all have any episodes where you dabbled in the paranormal, or is it all?
Nope. This is all off of Ivan Sanderson, who was a cryptozoologist, zoologist, researcher. Like he spent a lot of time in the field with his parents when he was young in the 1920s and 30s, collecting things for zoos and academics and stuff. So it's all based on what he looks for. And there's a lot of stuff that he knows wasn't real and he solved it and stuff. But we're going to open it up and kind of look at it and see again, just because we're bringing modern technology to it. Now, I want to say this because people are commenting and they're calling it trash, and these guys are trash and tacky. The trolling that happens with some of these armchair commandos at home are absolutely ridiculous. These idiots have to understand that this is entertainment. You couldn't watch 100 hours of what we do out there and not get tired of it. Like I said, a lot of times it's testing, waiting, checking, waiting. So we try to bring the highlighted moments to people, right, that they want. And that when it gets into the network, they're going to spruce it up a little bit because, come on, these TV guys, dude.
You have to.
So, yeah. And then when people go, oh my God, that was exciting. And then when I add a little music to it. So when someone comments, that's not real and this and that, what we were doing out there was real. They just added some shit to it to make it more entertaining so that the viewer isn't bored. It's like this show we're doing today. We're animated. If we all sat around like this and you asked me questions, I was like, yeah, I don't think so. I never saw one. No one's going to want to watch that. They want to hear us talk about our adventures, what we think. They like to hear the dynamics of the three of us talk. I think that there's a lot to that. People don't realize that.
No, they don't get the showmanship aspect of it. Right.
They think it's trash. Because people believe because there's no such thing as whatever it is we're looking for. Look, I never thought there was a Chupacabra. It was a fucked up dog. We clearly saw what it was. We know exactly what it was. And the lady caught one. It's just a messed up dog, man. Like it's a hybrid dog. Foxes hybridize with dogs. Coyotes hybridize with dogs. The dog could have mange. I mean, there's a number of different things it can do. Kill something. And I'm not saying anything sucked any blood out of anything. Someone says, well, why didn't they take any DNA from the bite mark? Just because you didn't see it in the show doesn't mean that all that wasn't taken care of.
Right.
What if we want to go back to it again?
Yeah.
What if we want to go back and do it all over again? What if we want to really try? I mean, we have to have something extra. So some of the things people say, man, like, oh, they kept their animal sad. Justin has to go 67 acres. It's not like he has two animals. He's got 70 herds of cattle out there. He's got, 200 pigs. I mean, it's not like they were like, oh, he didn't bring the little piggy in. I mean, give me a break.
Right. I've always thought the Chupacabra was like a coyote with the mange. You know what I mean? I've seen the videos from like South
I
Texas.
really think that too. And she's in Texas. She's in your state.
Right? Yeah.
Phyllis, she's the one that was at your state.
I've seen some videos where like, oh, it's Chupacabra. It's like, I've seen plenty of coyotes that have the mange and they don't have fucking any hair on them at all. Or if they do, it's
and they look weird.
Seriously spotty. They're hunched over. I mean, it's a sick animal. It's a sick dog.
Most people that, man, how can I say this? If you remember the episode when they were looking at the taxidermied dog that she had there, the blue-eyed dog, on the back of his haunches by its ass cheeks were these two pads, and they said, "Oh, we thought they were glands." I'm like, "There's no fucking way those are glands." If you look at the shape, when you understand animals like we do, right? And we do. We're professionals, and we look for every idiosyncrasy or the form, skeletal structure. You begin to understand that animal was hunched over a lot. It sat like this on its ass, no hair, right? So obviously it was older, and everybody has a hound dog or a bigger dog. They look on the elbows; they got that big pad right there. That's not a gland; it's a fucking callus from being on its elbows all the time. So when I saw that, I'm like, that's just because it sits that way. Even taxidermy that's kind of bent like a moon shape. You know that it's sat hunched over, curved up, protecting its genitalia. So that's why those were there. So to even say like, oh, I wonder what those were. Oh, we cut them. Come on, man. Man, she was a vet, dude.
She wanted to.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what you're looking at. So that just shows you right there that they were probably like, hey, can you say, that you thought it was a gland so the viewers at home get excited?
Yeah. Right.
That happens, man. That happens. I'm going to tell you that none of it's fake. We really used the technology. We really wanted to. Did we catch it? No. Did we see something and we caught to see it run by? We got a little piece of it? Sure. Absolutely. That's not fake. That just means that's what it is. And I think even if we were able to catch it, we wouldn't show it in the first season.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because
somewhere to go.
You want people to be excited. I mean, it's entertainment, guys, too. Remember that.
Right. What
so these trollers, man, I wish I had an answer for
them. What's your favorite episode that's going to come out?
That I had fun doing?
Yeah, just
that we
just
I had a blast. I had a blast doing all of it because we got to see some really great things, and I was with family, and it was a great thing. But I think the best episode for me is the Arkansas one.
Arkansas?
I think that's going to be
when does it come out? Do you know? Do you have a schedule of it?
It'll be the very last one. It'll be the very last one. So November, I think. November will be the last one. November, November. Let me look, and I'll tell you the date right now. I think I have it, my friend. I'll tell you what the date is. It's going to be November. Let's see, where's it at, man? November 13th. It'll be that Wednesday. Yep, I'm pretty sure I'll be them, and that's going to be our last one, and it's going to be awesome. It's about a monster in Arkansas.
We look forward to seeing that.
I look forward to seeing that.
I do too, man. We had so much fun with it. We found so many cool things that were real, and just it turned out to be it was a good time. And I can tell you that we spent a lot of time underground.
Very cool. Very cool.
It's going to be pretty cool.
Well, Troy, we really appreciate it. It's been almost 2 hours now. We really appreciate you coming on here. Love to do this again sometime.
Whenever you want, man. Let me know.
I wish you all the best with this new show. Hoping for season 2. Right?
We are too, man. So far, we're looking good. I hope we get it because we can go. We'll be doing some South America stuff maybe and some really cool shit. And I really look forward to getting into that.
That'd be awesome.
We appreciate you being on here. God bless you. And we'd love to have you on again sometime in the next 6 months.
Man, you let me know. I loved it. You guys are great. I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Being on. Appreciate you and have a great day.
Be safe up there.
Thanks a lot, guys. Thank you.
One of the most interesting guests we've ever had.
He's a cool dude.
He is a really cool dude. And he's a cousin with one of our friends here in Knox City.
Yep.
Nathan's not as cool as his cousin.
I don't know that I'd put it that way.
I would.
Just different.
They're a whole lot different.
Just different.
Nathan's a regular, nice, good, conservative guy.
You don't know.
I'm not talking. I'm just talking about in life, not in politics.
I enjoyed Troy.
Troy was a good dude. I really liked him, but him and Nathan are nothing alike.
There you go.
You think they're alike? No, you don't. And I love Nathan to death. He's a good dude and a good friend of mine. All right. Appreciate y'all for listening to us.
Check out his show. It's on Discovery every Wednesday night until November 13th. It is called The Lost Monster Files. I've got it set to my DVR. So a lot of fun. Sounds like he's got a lot of cool things going on. He's on Instagram, The Motley Croc Show. Check him out on Instagram and all that he does. Interesting guy. That's all I got. I'll be in Memphis this weekend at the second annual Shin Gear Film Fest. So if you are in the Memphis area, I hope to see you there.
If you're in the Knox City area, you can come see me at the Big Honker Lodge.
There you go. Somebody's got to hold it down. Love you. Bye. Watch for deer. Check out all of our amazing sponsors. Go check out Bull and Briar Leather. Christmas is coming up. What more could you want than a nice handbag for your wife? Ducks Unlimited, Dive Bomb Industries, Pacific Calls. Use our promo code BHP25. Boss Shot Shell, Dirty Duck Coffee, Shin Gear, Looking Glass Podcast, Lucky Duck, Double T British Kennels, Mossberg, MLR Graphics, Stanfield Outfitters, Hemp Hill Farm. Use our promo code BHP, Mallard Bay, and Mitch Hall's Chevrolet.